Chapter 1. Linzhou City, First People's Hospital, Psychiatry Department. Jiang Tian, who was lying on the bed, suddenly spasmed violently and opened his eyes. At that moment, his eyes flickered as if there were billions of stars in them. It was as if he had created a universe. Water! He felt a sharp pain in his head and his body was burning hot. His throat felt like it was going to smoke. He couldn't help but moan softly. "Jiang Tian, you're awake?" A pleasantly surprised voice rang out beside his ear. It was soft and pleasant to the ears. Then, a cold container was placed on his lips and cool water flowed down his throat. Jiang Tian's consciousness also became clearer. When he saw the girl who gave him the water, Jiang Tian couldn't help but exclaim, "Xueqing, aren't you dead?" The girl in front of him had shoulder-length black hair and a pair of beautiful eyes that were as bright as gems. Her eyelashes were long, and her lips were red. Her facial features were exquisite. She was wearing a white dress and looked like a fairy who had walked out of a painting. He couldn't believe it. As if to confirm his guess, he reached out his hand and stroked the girl's hair. "Jiang Tian, what are you doing?" Zhao Xueqing instinctively took a step back and dodged Jiang Tian's touch. A trace of fear flashed across her clear eyes. "Could it be that I'm back?" Zhao Xueqing's beautiful face was so clear in front of him. Jiang Tian's face suddenly trembled as a storm surged in his heart. Memories flashed across his mind like a slideshow. As the descendant of the Jin city's Jiang Tian, he was originally engaged to a girl from a wealthy family in Yanjin. However, the girl suddenly backed out of the marriage and Jiang Tian became the biggest joke in Jin City. Jiang Tian was furious and beat up the young master who came to cancel the marriage, which caused a huge uproar. Under the guidance of his grandfather, Jiang Tian cut ties with the family and was expelled from the family. He was sent to Linzhou City. Zhao Xueqing, the daughter of a third-class family in Linzhou, secretly married Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian even became the son-in-law of the Zhao family. Although Zhao Xueqing was beautiful and was known as the #1 beauty in Linzhou and had a gentle personality, Jiang Tian, who thought that he was from a rich and powerful family, didn't like her at all. He hated his grandfather for throwing him to Linzhou, a place where even birds wouldn't shit. Jiang Tian was depressed and resentful, but he had no way to vent his anger, so he did not show any mercy to her, beating and scolding her at every turn. However, Zhao Xueqing was merciful and did not abandon Jiang Tian. She treated Jiang Tian at all costs and took good care of him. In 2012, the Jiang family of Jinling suffered a great change. His father was caught and thrown into prison, and he committed suicide with hatred. Originally, Grandpa Zhong couldn't take the shock and died. His mother got into a car accident on the highway and was killed by a truck. It was suspected to be murder. The Jiang family collapsed, and the Jiang family's Medicine King group was divided among the other families. At this point, Jiang Tian finally understood his grandfather's painstaking arrangement. It was to let him avoid the brunt of the attack and preserve the bloodline of the Jiang family. After the Jiang family was destroyed, Lu Wangfeng immediately showed his claws and teeth and forced Zhao Xueqing to give herself to him. Zhao Xueqing couldn't take the humiliation and committed suicide by burning charcoal. Jiang Tian, whose soul was torn to pieces by despair, guilt, hatred, madness, and other negative emotions, jumped off a cliff in Linzhou, wanting to end his failed life. However, Jiang Tian didn't succeed in dying. Instead, he was taken to another time and space by a cultivator who was traveling around Earth, and he embarked on the path of cultivation. This time, he was gone for 10,000 years. In just 500 years, Jiang Tian advanced from the most basic body tempering to the Mahayana stage. He went through the 9-ditch heaven tribulation and became an immortal. He was called the Taichu Celestial Lord. In the remaining thousands of years, Kong Taichu worked hard and advanced bravely. He traversed the universe and proved his Tao by killing. He was the son of the god of war and the god of destruction. He was invincible and could destroy a planet with a raise of his hand. Finally, he reached the realm of the Hongmeng god. The god of Hongmeng, the supreme god. Its symbol was that it could evolve its own rules of the universe, break through Hongmeng, and open up a universe that completely belonged to itself. However, in the process of establishing the universe, Jiang Taichu still perished and his Tao dissipated. It was only at the last moment that he understood that even if he reached the peak of the universe and looked down on all races in the universe, what occupied his heart was still the regret of his parents' death and the deep guilt he felt towards Zhao Xueqing. The demon in his heart destroyed Jiang Tian. Thousands of glory can't compare to the smile of love. Immortality is not as good as the company of loved ones. So, I never let go. At the moment of his death, Kang Taichu looked at the sky with hatred, and tears streamed down his face. The next moment, his body shattered and turned into billions of dark meteorites. It's nothing. Xueqing, is your neck okay? When he came back to his senses, Jiang Tian withdrew his hand embarrassedly, and a trace of pain and sadness flashed across his eyes. The bruise on her neck seemed to have been left behind a few days ago when he strangled her in a frenzy. I'm fine. Zhao Xueqing's pretty face revealed a trace of shock. Jiang Tian's consciousness was very clear, and he still cared about her. This was completely different from his previous erratic behavior. Could it be that he had recovered? Jiang Tian felt that his sea of vital energy was empty, and there was no trace of true yuan. He couldn't help but frown, and after hesitating for a moment, he asked, Xueqing, what day and year is it now? 2007, 12th of March. Zhao Xueqing's face suddenly darkened. He had seen so many doctors, but they all failed. How could he have recovered? Sigh, I'm really a lunatic. This year, I'm 25 years old. It's been 3 years since I graduated from university, and I just married Xueqing for a year. A trace of ecstasy flashed across Jiang Tian's eyes as he muttered to himself, also, there are still 5 years before the big families make their move. I have plenty of time. What did you say? Zhao Xueqing looked at Jiang Tian with a face full of worry. I'm fine. Let's leave the hospital now. Jiang Tian tore off the syringe, and without caring about the blood on his arm, he quickly got off the bed and walked to the window. He stood with his hands behind his back, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. So what if I don't have a trace of cultivation? I can start all over again. In these 5 years, I'll be able to step into the foundation establishment or even the golden core level. At least on this earth, I'll be invincible. Then he looked up at the sky, and his eyes shot out a crazy murderous intent, as if he was going to tear the sky apart. In my previous life, you humiliated my family and killed my family. In this life, I'll make you pay back 1,000 times over. In my previous life, you took my beloved wife and forced me to commit suicide. In this life, I'll torture you until you wish you were dead. I'll make the sky tremble for me, make the earth bow down to me, and make the whole world turn upside down for me. Seeing this scene, the nurse was so scared that her face turned pale. Miss Xiao, your husband seems to be ill again. Do you want to give him another shot of tranquilizer? No need. Zhao Xueqing shook her head gently and sighed in her heart. He was talking crazy again. It seemed that there was still no sign of him getting better. At this moment, the phone rang. Zhao Xueqing was shocked and quickly picked it up. President, I'm taking care of Jiang Tian in the hospital. It's done. I'll go back to the company immediately. After hanging up the phone, Zhao Xueqing said to Jiang Tian, can you take a taxi back by yourself? No problem, go ahead. Jiang Tian waved his hand. Then be careful and go home early. Zhao Xueqing looked at Jiang Tian worriedly and hurried out. Xueqing, in my previous life, I owed you too much. In this life, I'll give you a lifetime of happiness and stability. I swear that I'll never let you suffer any harm or grievance in the future. Looking at the girl's back as she gradually disappeared into the distance, Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of affection as he spoke softly. Chapter 2. Jiang Tian left the ward and passed by the door of another ward. Suddenly, he heard a burst of crying coming from inside. Jiang Tian stopped a nurse and asked, Why is someone crying? I guess Elder Tang is about to leave. What a pity. The nurse sighed. Elder Tang? Tang Guizhu is a martial arts master. He was once the instructor of the Tiger Special Forces in the Lingnan military region. He integrated the southern sects Wing Chun, Hong Quan, and Kai Li Buddhist Fist into the military boxing. He contributed greatly to the spread of the southern sect's martial arts. Do you know Li Long? He's his junior brother, the nurse said with a face full of reverence. Oh, it's him. Jiang Tian nodded. Not only is Elder Tang highly skilled in martial arts, but he's also very righteous. He's established a martial arts charity fund and sponsored hundreds of out-of-school children. He's highly respected and loved by the people of Linzhou. The nurse was slightly moved. Elder Tang was a martial arts master. His disciples were all over Wuxia. He had taught many elite soldiers in the military and was even on the same level as the leaders of the Lingnan military region. Therefore, the Tang family was the most prominent family in Linzhou. They were much more powerful than the Lu family. Yeah, I've heard of him. Martial arts master, instructor of the Tiger Special Forces. He can be said to be the most famous person in Linzhou after the founding of the People's Republic of China. Jiang Tian nodded and looked into the ward. Beside the bed was a very beautiful girl. She was holding Elder Li's hand and crying her eyes out. Beside her, a beautiful middle-aged woman was also crying as she comforted the girl. The ward was filled with people. Each of them had a powerful aura. Judging from their attire, they were either rich or powerful. Lying on the bed was an old man with age spots all over his face. His eyes were tightly shut, and his face was pale and haggard. His cheekbones were protruding high, and he seemed to be hanging on to his last breath. If he breathed out this breath, he would pass away. Divine Dr. Qin, is there no other way? Even if we have to wait another 3 months for Secretary Tang to come back from the party school training, we can still do it. An officer in military uniform said to an old man in a long gown with a worried expression. Guard Wei, please forgive this old man for not being able to help. The old man called Divine Dr. Qin side and said helplessly, Elder Tang's strange illness was discovered too late. Right now, the illness has already spread throughout his body, causing his organs to fail. He's showing signs of degeneration. Not to mention me, even a deity wouldn't be able to save him. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire place was once again filled with heartbroken cries. Divine Dr. Qin, Jisher, was the king of divine needles in Linzhou. His master was Zhang Yanghao, the royal physician of Redwall. His medical skills were the best in Linzhou. If he said that he couldn't cure Elder Tang, it was basically the end of his life. A quack doctor who harms people is no different from a white-robed butcher. Just as everyone was in despair, a soft shout came from the door. What did you say? How dare you question my medical skills and integrity? Chen Jisher frowned and glared at Jiang Tian. His eyes were about to spit fire. Chen Jisher was so famous in Linzhou that even the Tang family had to be courteous to him. But today, he was humiliated by this brat. He couldn't help but be furious. Can't I question your medical skills? Jiang Tian walked into the room and harumphed coldly. Elder Tang is clearly not at the end of his life. He still has at least 5 more years to live. If you're not a quack, then what are you? May I ask who you are? Guard Wei asked with a frown. This brat was young, but his arrogance was boundless. He couldn't figure out what was going on. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, My surname is Jiang. I am the only person in the world who can save Elder Tang. What? So confident. The moment these words were spoken, the entire crowd was shocked. Everyone's hearts were in turmoil and they couldn't believe it. You're saying that you have a way? The beautiful woman raised her head for the first time, and she carefully sized up Jiang Tian with a frown. Suddenly, a young man standing behind Jisher laughed mockingly and said, I was wondering who it was. Isn't this the crazy Jiang Tian? The young man was tall and handsome. He was armed to the teeth and wore branded clothes. If he walked on the street, he would definitely be a handsome man. However, he looked at Jiang Tian with disdain. It was as if a superior human being was looking down on an ant. Ha Wu Chao Hui, enemies are bound to meet. Jiang Tian's eyes fell on the young man. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Wu Chao Hui, the young master of the Wu family and Lu Wangfeng's henchman. In Wu Chaohui's previous life, Jiang Tian's greatest blow had come from Wu Chaohui. It was Wu Chaohui who had consigned Jiang Tian to eternal damnation. Wu Chaohui and Jiang Tian were close friends. However, Wu Chaohui fed him alcohol mixed with industrial alcohol and even toxins, which caused permanent brain damage and made him crazy. Chaohui, what did you say? He's crazy? The beautiful woman asked in surprise. Auntie Chen, I'm not lying. Not long ago, he drank too much and his brain was damaged. He has a fever at home every day and can't even take care of himself. He's a frequent visitor of the psychiatric department and can even treat illnesses. What a joke. Wu Chaohui laughed in disdain. So he's a crazy person. Chen Jishir stood with his hands behind his back and looked at Jiang Tian with disdain. You have to weigh your own weight if you want to stand out. I advise you not to make a fool of yourself. Hurry up and get out. However, the crying girl by the bed seemed to have seen a life-saving straw. She grabbed onto Jiang Tian's sleeve and begged, Please, treat my grandfather. If you can save my grandfather, my Tang family will grant your request and treat you as a VIP. The princess of the Tang family, Tang Linglong, was the #1 socialite in Linzhou. Her appearance and figure were top-notch, and her temperament was otherworldly. Even Wu Chaohui had been infatuated with her for a long time. However, Jiang Tian's heart was focused on Zhao Xueqing, and he didn't care about her. Chen Exin, elder Tang's daughter-in-law, was helpless. She could only look at Chen Jishir with a bitter smile. Elder Chen, since you can't do anything, why don't you let him try? Who knows, there might be a chance. Auntie, he's a crazy person. What can he do? Don't let him humiliate Elder Tang. Wu Chaohui looked at Jiang Tian with disdain and snorted. Sigh, young Master Wu, since Mrs. Tang wants to try, then let her try. Chen Jishir waved his hand and sneered. He then looked at Jiang Tian with disdain. If I can't treat a patient, then no one in the world can. If you can treat Elder Tang, then I'm willing to serve you tea and take you as my master. His words caused an uproar in the crowd. Alright, since this brat wants to stand out, then let him treat it. If he can't treat Elder Tang, then I have a reason to kill him and remove the obstacle for young Master Lu to take down Zhao Xueqing. Wu Chaohui gloomily looked at Jiang Tian, killing intent flashing in his heart. Mrs. Tang, Miss Tang, Divine Dr. Chen, please stay and be our witness. As for the rest of you, please leave. Jiang Tian looked at Wu Chaohui with disdain and walked to Elder Tang with his hands behind his back. Chapter 3. Wu Chaohui was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. What the fuck are you talking about? How did I become an outsider? However, Chen Exin waved her hand without hesitation and said, All right, we'll listen to Mr. Jiang. All of you can leave now. Soon, other than Chen Exin, Tang Linglong, and Chen Jishir, everyone else left. The ward seemed much emptier. Jiang Tian looked at Chen Jishir and said, Divine Dr. Chen, do you have any silver needles? Chen Jishir snorted in disdain and handed over a leather needle pouch. This kid doesn't even have any acupuncture tools, yet he dares to pretend to be a divine doctor. How ignorant and arrogant. Jiang Tian took the needle pouch and took out a sharp 3-edged needle. He cut his fingertip and blood immediately dripped down. What are you doing? Everyone exclaimed. Chen Jishir was puzzled. Jiang Tian, why did you cut your finger instead of performing acupuncture on Elder Tang? Jiang Tian completely ignored him. He picked up a medical record from the bedside table, tore off a clean piece of paper, and started drawing with his finger that was dripping blood. It was as red as blood and curved like an earthworm. After a while, it turned into a talisman. It looked very strange. This is a talisman. Oh my God. It's the 21st century, and you still want to use witchcraft to cure your illness? Chen Jishir did not know whether to laugh or cry. The person in front of him might not be a lunatic, but he must be a liar. Chen Exin and Tang Linglong were also stunned. Look carefully. Soul-devouring fire. Lin. Jiang Tian made a strange gesture with his left hand and silently chanted a spell. He then threw the talisman at Elder Tang's head. At this moment, everyone's eyes were wide open. This was an inconceivable scene, and also an unprecedentedly brilliant scene. The talisman burned in the air and turned into a red light that shot from Jiang Tian's fingertip to Elder Tang's head. It was like a beautiful woman casting a red light under her lover's poem. It was as light as a poem and as beautiful as a dream. However, where the red light passed, the air was filled with extreme heat. Everyone felt as if they were in a furnace. However, what happened next was even more shocking. Streaks of pitch-black qi shot out from the top of Elder Tang's head and rolled towards the roof. At the same time, a shriek that caused one's heart to palpitate, like an old crow crying at night, resounded throughout the entire area. It shook everyone to the point that they were on the verge of collapse and almost fell to the ground. "What is this?" Cries of surprise rang out. The black qi transformed and formed a black skull the size of a millstone. It was so dense that it looked like it was made of black glue. The skull ground its teeth and glared at Jiang Tian with resentment. "Brat, you do have some ability. But since you've met me today, I'll definitely take your dog life." Inside the room, a chilly wind blew, and black gas filled the air. The scene was terrifying, and the temperature plummeted. Everyone felt as if they were in an ice cave. Their hair stood on end, and they could not help but shiver. The glass cup on the bedside table was first covered with a layer of white frost, and then it cracked. Is this a ghost?" Chen Jishir was so scared that his face turned pale, and his whole body trembled violently. "Tsk, a 3-year-old Yin spirit must taste really good. It can be used as food for my body forging stage." However, Jiang Tian did not panic at all. Instead, his eyes flashed with greed, like a hungry ghost who had seen delicious food, or a miser who had seen gold. "Where did you come from? You're not afraid of me?" The ghost was surprised and shouted angrily. "Come on." Jiang Tian did not waste time talking nonsense. He operated the primal chaos art, opened his mouth, and suddenly sucked. Roar. "Let go of me." A huge suction force came, and the ghost suddenly wailed and howled. It struggled with all its might, twisting and changing shape, trying to escape. But it was useless. Jiang Tian's mouth was like a black hole that could swallow even light, making it impossible for him to escape. The ghost turned into a black qi and drilled into Jiang Tian's mouth. In the blink of an eye, it was completely swallowed by Jiang Tian like a whale swallowing a cow. "I'm so full, so full." Jiang Tian patted his stomach, very satisfied. There was already a ghost's qi in his qi sea, waiting to be refined. Between heaven and earth, there were countless qi of death, and qi of righteousness. As for body forging, it was to absorb these qi to strengthen the muscles and bones, and improve the physique. Ordinary cultivation methods could only absorb pure qi of heaven and earth to strengthen the body. However, Jiang Tian was using the god-level cultivation method, the primal chaos art, which could absorb all kinds of energy and qi. Whether it was the power of the stars, qi of heaven and earth, ghosts' qi of death, or qi of miasma, they were all like rivers flowing into the sea. He did not reject them. He took their essence and refined them into a furnace for his use. The whole place was silent. Chen Xian, Tang Linglong, and Chen Jishir were dumbfounded. Comfortable, so comfortable. Just as everyone was dumbfounded, Elder Tang nimbly got off the bed and laughed heartily. "I saw the King of Hell just now. That little ghost was forcing me to sign the Book of Life and Death. Suddenly, a big hand pulled me back. I was wondering who it was, but when I opened my eyes, it was divine Dr. Jiang." Everyone was stunned. Elder Tang had been bedridden for more than a year, but he was alive and kicking so quickly. Was Jiang Tian's medical skill? It was simply divine skill. "Grandpa, don't be so agitated. Lie down first. I'll call the doctor over to check on you." Tang Linglong was so emotional that tears streamed down her face. She rushed to Elder Tang's side to support him, but she was still a little worried. "There's no need to check. I'm fine, I'm completely fine. I can feel it." Elder Tang waved his hand, and then held Jiang Tian's hand with both of his hands, shaking it non-stop. "This old man's life was given to me by you. Mr. Jiang, Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Elder Tang, you're welcome. Jiang Tian let go of Elder Tang's hand and stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at Chen Jisher and said, Divine Dr. Chen, I wonder if you're convinced now? Chen Jisher immediately quivered and said with a submissive smile, I'm convinced. I'm convinced. I'm convinced. What did you say just now? If I cure Elder Tang, you'll kneel down and kowtow to me as a disciple? Jiang Tian picked his ear with his little finger and said with a naughty smile. Okay, I'll kneel and admit defeat. Chen Jisher's face was flushed red. He lifted the hem of his robe and was about to kneel down. In the Xinglin world, the capable were the teachers. He was not as skilled as Jiang Tian, and he had repeatedly disrespected him. It was natural for him to kneel down. Forget it. I won't accept such a stupid disciple like you. Jiang Tian helped him up and swaggered out of the door. Mr. Jiang, wait a moment. Elder Tang quickly chased after him with Tang Linglong's help. Sai, what an expert. The medical skills I've learned over the years have all gone to waste. Looking at Jiang Tian's tall and imposing figure, Chen Jisher's face was ashen as he gently shook his head in dejection. He started learning medicine at the age of 8 under the tutelage of Zhang Yanghao. He started practicing medicine at the age of 13 and followed his master to the north and south of the country to solve countless difficult diseases. At the age of 20, he mastered medicine and inherited his master's 9 palaces and 18 needles. At the age of 33, he left his master's tutelage and came to Linzhou to set up a school. At the age of 40, the name King of Divine Needles had already spread throughout the city. He was known as the King of Divine Needles. But now he was defeated by a young man. He could not help but feel that he was a hero past his prime. Divine Dr. Chen. Seeing Chen Jisher's dejected face, Chen Xian worriedly called out, Mrs. Tang, from today onwards, please don't call me Divine Doctor. I don't deserve to be called Divine Doctor. Chen Jisher bitterly smiled and shook his head, turned around and left. Chapter 4. Jiang Tian definitely won't be able to cure Mr. Tang. He might even cause a medical accident. Later, all of you will swarm him and beat him to death. With the support of the Tang family, the authorities won't pursue the matter. In the corridor, Wu Chaohui was smoking a cigarette and giving instructions to 2 thugs on how to deal with Jiang Tian. Suddenly, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He saw Mr. Tang and Jiang Tian walking over hand in hand. They were in high spirits, as if they were 10 years younger. Holy shit, he's cured? Wu Chaohui's mouth was wide open. The cigarette fell to the ground, and his face was full of disbelief. Wu Chaohui grabbed Tang Linglong and asked, Linglong, how did Mr. Tang recover? What happened? You're an idiot. Tang Linglong slapped him in the face and said angrily, You said that Jiang Tian is crazy, but he's actually an extraordinary person. Why didn't you let him treat Grandpa? What are you thinking? He's an extraordinary person. What kind of joke is this? Wu Chaohui's face was burning from the slap, and he was puzzled. However, Tang Linglong had already walked far away. After sending Jiang Tian to the entrance of the hospital, Mr. Tang said happily, Mr. Jiang, I'll ask Xiao Wei to send you off. No need. I'll go by myself. Jiang Tian waved his hand and refused. He still needed to find a secluded place to cultivate, and he didn't want anyone to disturb him. Mr. Jiang, what do you need me to do for you? Is it the consultation fee or? Tang Linglong said. Oh, give me 100 yuan. I don't have money for lunch. Jiang Tian suddenly slapped his head and said, Zhao Xueqing left in a hurry just now and didn't even give him money to take a taxi. He was now penniless. Oh, you want money? No problem. How could such a godlike extraordinary person be penniless? Tang Linglong didn't hesitate to give Jiang Tian more than 1,000 yuan in her wallet and asked, Mr. Jiang, do you have a bank card? I can transfer 100,000 yuan to you first. I don't have a bank card. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly. Without any hesitation, he hailed a taxi and left. After being poisoned by alcohol, his behavior became erratic. He once took out tens of thousands of yuan to distribute money in front of the bank, and even used the money to light cigarettes. Therefore, Zhao Xueqing did not allow him to use his mobile phone, nor did she allow him to carry any money or bank cards with him. Looking at the gradually disappearing taxi, Tang Linglong suddenly stamped her feet and said, "Oh no, I didn't leave his contact information. This Mr. Jiang is indeed worth making friends with." Elder Tang placed his hands behind his back and sighed softly. Then he waved to the guard and said, "Xiao Wei, you go with them and find out more about this Jiang Tian. But remember, you must keep it a secret." "Understood," Little Wei replied without hesitation. After eating some bro, Jiang Tian took a taxi and went straight to the 100-feet cliff in the western suburbs of Linzhou. More than 10 hours flew by. Night fell and the sky was filled with stars. On the 100-feet cliff, there was only silence. Under a pine tree, Jiang Tian bathed in the starlight and meditated like an old monk. Long strands of white spiritual energy converged from all directions, causing the tree branches above his head to sway and rush into his body like tentacles. Body tempering stage 1, success. Suddenly, Jiang Tian opened his eyes and sighed. His eyes were sparkling like a pair of bright lamps, flickering indeterminately. In just one night, Jiang Tian completely refined the ghost qi in his qi si and the spirit qi of heaven and earth into pure true essence. Huff! Jiang Tian exhaled a stream of white qi that was 10 feet long. At this time, his 8 extraordinary meridians, limbs, and bones were filled with true essence. His strength was surging as if it was inexhaustible. He could smash a huge rock with a single palm. In my previous life, my main cultivation technique was the Azure Dragon Cloud Sea technique. The first continent that I set foot on with my master was the Saint Origin continent, which was full of spirit qi. Of course, this cultivation technique was easy to use. But it was not inclusive enough. Jiang Tian recalled the experience of crossing the void and traveling the universe back then. He couldn't help but sigh with emotion. He nodded slightly and said, "Until I set foot on the barren Inhua continent where life was cut off and the spirit qi was thin, I met the immortal venerable crocodile ancestor. We felt like old friends at first sight, so I began to cultivate the primal chaos creation technique that he created. Now it seems that the primal chaos creation technique can be inclusive and can turn waste into treasure. It's really extraordinary." Suddenly, Jiang Tian's ears twitched as he heard a faint voice 100 meters away. He could not help but smile coldly. "What are you doing sneaking around? You've been guarding for a night. It's time to come out." "Ha, Madman Jiang, are you a dog? Your brain is not bright, but your ears are quite sharp." 2 big men walked out of the dense forest. They were both big and strong, with dragon and tiger tattoos on their arms. Their faces were fierce, and it was obvious that they were not kind people. "Humiliate me? You're courting death. Kowtow to me now and admit your mistakes, and I'll spare your lives." Jiang Tian's clear eyes were filled with arrogance, as if he was overlooking 2 ants that he could crush with his hands. "Damn, Madman Jiang, you're quite arrogant." The bald man was shocked. The long-haired man sneered contemptuously. "Kid, you're really a madman. Haven't you heard of us, the Starlight Duo? Someone wants us to kill you. Jump off the cliff yourself and save us the trouble." The Starlight Duo was one of the top 3 gangs in Linzhou. They had thousands of members, and every one of them was a man who dared to fight and kill. The Starlight Duo was the trump card of the gang. They were famous in the Jianghu, and almost no one dared to fight them. Legend had it that they were once the disciples of the Shaolin Temple. They were very strong, and each of them could take on 5 or 6 big men alone. They could break a sandbag with 1 punch and break a plank more than 2 centimeters thick with 1 kick. "Sai, I've already given you a chance, but you don't know how to cherish it." Jiang Tian sighed helplessly. He stood up, put his hands behind his back, and slowly approached the 2 of them. He had once dominated the universe and suppressed thousands of races in the starry sky. He killed the Holy King with a snap of his fingers, killed the Divine Sun, and killed the Great Demon and the Old Demon with a flip of his hand. He made thousands of strong people tremble and shocked an era. He didn't expect that these 2 punks would come to provoke him. They didn't know what was good for them. "Fine, If you don't want to jump off the cliff, we can exercise a little. The bald man sneered. He took a step forward and threw a punch at Jiang Tian's chest. Shaolin Temple, Arhat's long fist. The fist energy exploded, and the wind howled. Jiang Tian only smiled contemptuously. He raised his hand and slapped the bald man's head as if he was swatting a fly. Blood spurted out, and pieces of flesh flew everywhere. Baldy flew 5 meters away in an instant. His waist slammed into a sharp mountain rock, and his waist almost broke. Ouch, it hurts! The bald man screamed. His legs twitched violently, and he fainted from the pain. Fuck, he flew more than 5 meters away. How terrifying is his strength? The long-haired man's eyes were wide open. He couldn't believe it. His heart was in turmoil and he almost fell to the ground. He heard that Madman Zhang's body was very weak, and he had always been bullied by others. How did he suddenly become so powerful? Are you scared now? Tell me who's behind this, and I'll spare you from physical pain. Jiang Tian shook his head in disappointment. It seemed that he had to be more careful when fighting in the future. He had only used 10% of his strength, and he almost smashed the bald man's head. Although he had cultivated for 10,000 years and reached the highest level of Hongmeng, and looked down on thousands of races in the starry sky, that was all in the past. The current him didn't have the strength to resist the violence of the country. It wouldn't be fun if he killed someone. However, if he killed someone here, no one would find out. Chapter 5. Kid, you're good at fighting, but no matter how good you are, you're still afraid of a kitchen knife. May I ask if you can withstand a long knife? The long-haired man's expression turned ruthless. He pulled out a sharp blade that flickered with a cold light. He roared like a tiger and jumped up. The long blade was like a mountain pressing down on him. He chopped towards Jiang Tian's head. This slash was also his proudest work. It was extremely powerful, and the long saber made a sharp whistling sound. The snow-white blade reflected his ferocious smile. He could almost see the steel knife cutting into a person's head, causing blood and brain matter to splatter out. Jiang Tian, get out of the way! Xiao Wei, who was hiding in the bushes, shouted. His face was pale and he didn't even have time to pull out his pistol. His opponent was too fast. Jiang Tian didn't dodge. He stood there like a block of wood. Clang! Unexpectedly, the moment the long knife cut into Jiang Tian's head, there was a metallic sound as if it had cut into a piece of steel. The long-haired man felt an irresistible force coming at him. The knife bounced back, and his hand trembled. The steel knife almost flew out of his hand. Body tempering stage level 1. I'm not afraid of knives and spears. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with pride as he sighed. Oh my god! Xiao Wei sucked in a breath of cold air. Fuck! The long-haired man stumbled back. He looked down and saw that the hand between his thumb and index finger was bleeding. The steel knife made from 67 layers of Damascus steel was bent. Hee hee, I didn't eat breakfast. Why is your strength so weak? It's like a girl scratching an itch for me. Jiang Tian carelessly rubbed the top of his head that was safe and sound, and laughed in ridicule. Body tempering stage level 1 was just not afraid of cold weapons. It was nothing. At the peak of the body tempering stage, he wasn't even afraid of machine guns. At the Qi cultivation stage, he could even crush a bomb with his bare hands. Golden Bell Shield, Iron Shirt, and the 13 Guardians? The long-haired man stared at Jiang Tian's head, and a series of Wuxia names appeared in his mind. He really didn't know how to explain Jiang Tian's ability. It was as if he had seen a demon god. Who's behind this? If you don't, I'll kill you. Jiang Tian walked with his hands clasped behind his back as if he was taking a stroll in the park. Hero Jiang, please spare my life. Weiss, it was Wu Chaohui who told me to kill you. The burly man said while trembling. Oh, so it's him. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a sharp killing intent, and a cold aura spread out. Grandpa, don't kill me. I'm just taking someone's money to get rid of a disaster for them. Senior, please be merciful and spare my lowly life. The burly man was so scared that he trembled and cried loudly as he begged for mercy. Grandpa, from now on, you're my real grandpa. Grandpa Jiang, your obedient grandson will definitely not dare to provoke you in the future. I will definitely be filial to you. Just treat me as a fart and let me go. Plop. The long-haired man could no longer contain the fear in his heart. His whole body trembled violently, and his urine and feces came out together. He knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly. He originally thought that he was a ruthless person who killed without batting an eyelid. But when he met a truly ruthless person, he realized that he was just a bug that could be crushed with a raise of the hand. When faced with death, he would also feel fear and beg for mercy. Forget it. You're just an ant. Killing you will only bring trouble. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. He didn't care about the Starlight Duo. The key was to kill the mastermind Wu Chaohui. Thank you, Grandpa, for sparing my life. The long-haired man was as if he had been pardoned. He pressed his hands against the ground and kept kowtowing. But it's not good to kill people. What if you scare the children? Jiang Tian suddenly lifted his foot and stepped on his right hand, exerting a bit of strength. Ouch, it hurts. The long-haired man's right hand was a mess of flesh and blood. His whole body convulsed in pain and he passed out instantly. As for the bald man, he was at least in a vegetative state with a concussion. Jiang Tian was too lazy to punish him. He shrugged his shoulders and walked down the mountain. Mr. Jiang, I'm Mr. Tang's bodyguard, Xiao Wei. We've met before. Let me take you back to the city, Xiao Wei said nervously. He didn't know Jiang Tian's strength, but he was sure that Jiang Tian was not an ordinary martial artist. His medical skills and martial arts had reached such a level. This kind of person was like a god. But Jiang Tian glanced at him. He didn't care about it. After all, it would take a lot of time to walk down the mountain. Xiao Wei's car was a black Wrangler off-road vehicle. It was spacious and had a great view. Xiao Wei's driving skills were excellent. Also, he was afraid that he would bump into Jiang Tian, so he drove steadily on the winding mountain road. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, was sitting in the passenger seat. He didn't say a word and closed his eyes to rest. Mr. Jiang, Mr. Tang was worried that Wu Chaohui would harm you yesterday, so he asked me to come with you. Noticing that Jiang Tian did not seem to be asleep, Little Wei probed. But he guessed correctly. Do you want me to report this to Mr. Tang? No need. Jiang Tian opened his eyes and said concisely. Mr. Jiang, you're really open-minded. Xiao Wei said with admiration. Haha, I don't need Mr. Tang to deal with them. I can kill them like I'm killing chickens. Jiang Tian looked at the passing scenery outside the window. His eyes flashed with a sharp and cold light, and his heart was filled with murderous intent. But how can I kill them so easily? That would be too easy for them. Wu Chaohui, Lu Wangfeng, and the three major families of Jinling, I'll play with you like a cat playing with a mouse. I'll make you feel the pain and despair of losing everything. I'll make you suffer eternal damnation, and you'll beg for death. Jiang Tian returned to the Times mansion. The sky was already bright. Although Jiang Tian was a bit of a spoiled brat and mediocre, his parents still loved him and bought him a villa as his wedding home. This villa was only considered a mid-range villa. Moreover, it was located in a development zone. The surrounding facilities were not complete, so it was not expensive. I'm back. Jiang Tian walked into the living room and saw Zhao Xueqing and his father-in-law Zhao Huqing sitting on the sofa. They seemed to be waiting for him. He couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Zhao Xueqing's feelings toward him were very complicated. There was sympathy, but more than that, there was fear and disgust. The originally thin relationship between husband and wife had long been ruined by him. She didn't leave him. She was probably just fulfilling her duty as a wife. You still remember to come back. Where the hell did you go last night? Zhao Xueqing said angrily. She didn't sleep last night. At this moment, her eyes were red and there were obvious dark circles under her eyes. Yesterday, after she got off work, she realized that Jiang Tian didn't come home. She suddenly remembered that she left the hospital in a hurry and didn't leave Jiang Tian money for a taxi. She instantly panicked and wondered if Jiang Tian had gotten lost. She first went to the police station to call the police. However, he had just gotten lost. It hadn't even been 24 hours. The police didn't file a case at all. Naturally, they wouldn't help to search for him. Zhao Xueqing drove all the way from the hospital to his house. She shouted all the way until her voice was hoarse, but there was no sign of him. Although Jiang Tian didn't treat Zhao Xueqing well, in her opinion, he was still her husband. As long as they weren't divorced, she couldn't ignore him. At this moment, when she saw Jiang Tian coming back leisurely, she couldn't help but glare at Jiang Tian angrily. She was very unhappy. Aya, Xueqing, Jiang Tian also has his own life. Don't interfere too much with him. Zhao Huqing smiled gently. However, Jiang Tian could sense the disdain in his gaze. Jiang Tian's heart was like a mirror. Zhao Huqing had already sensed the Jiang family's crisis and was probably regretting it. Zhao Huqing was the director of the Development Zone's government office. His wife was a strong woman and opened a pharmaceutical company. He had 2 daughters. Zhao Xueqing was his elder daughter with his deceased wife. After he married a new wife, they gave birth to a younger daughter. Zhao Xueqing lost her mother when she was young. In the Zhao family, she wasn't doted on by her uncle and grandmother. This was the reason why Zhao Huqing wanted her to marry Jiang Tian. He wanted to get some benefits from the Jiang family. However, he never expected that the Jiang family and the Medicine King Corporation would be in danger. They couldn't help his business at all. Zhao Huqing went for wool and came home shorn. He couldn't stand Jiang Tian. Chapter 6. Jiang Tian naturally couldn't say that he went to cultivate, so he sat down and said plainly, "I went to the 1,000-feet cliff for a walk." "Oh, the 1,000-feet cliff? That place is deserted and it's not safe to go there at night. You should be careful." After chatting for a while, the smile on Zhao Huqing's face faded. This guy was really crazy. Going to the 1,000-feet cliff at night, he wasn't afraid of being bitten to death by wild beasts. He secretly regretted that he didn't have foresight. He actually didn't see that the Jiang family was already on the verge of collapse. Without the Jiang family as his backing, Jiang Tian was completely useless. In terms of ability and means, he couldn't be compared to Lu Wangfeng at all. "Jiang Tian, how do you feel about your head now? Is it still so messy? Do you have any plans to work at the company?" Although Zhao Huqing looked down on Jiang Tian, he still had to show some concern since he was family. "I'm not interested in working. I don't know anything about business management either. I only want to take good care of Xueqing now." Jiang Tian smiled bitterly and shook his head. He had returned from 10,000 years of cultivation and had unlimited magical powers. It was easy to earn money, so why would he still need to work? "Jiang Tian, you should learn business management when you have time. If you really can't do it, you can start from the basic public relations and sales positions." Zhao Huqing frowned. It seemed that this kid was completely useless. He wasn't even interested in working. Lu Wangfeng had already listed one of his companies on the new third board and earned more than 100 million in one go. "Just based on your crazy appearance, it's fine as long as you don't hit my daughter. I'm still waiting for you to take care of her." What a joke. Since Uncle has the idea of supporting me, then I'll go work at Xueqing's company. Jiang Tian suddenly had an idea. If he went to work at Xueqing's company, wouldn't he be able to take care of her and protect her? Yes, he had also worked at Xueqing's company in his previous life. But at that time, he didn't have the ability to protect her and could only watch as she was bullied and harassed. But in this life, he had returned from 10,000 years of cultivation and had once reached the peak of the universe. He definitely wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. "Oh, that's great. Doing anything is better than idling around." Zhao Huqing smiled and thought to himself, what kind of crazy am I? If he goes to work, wouldn't that be causing trouble? Jiang Tian nodded silently. "Xueqing, think about the matter I discussed with you before. I still have a meeting, so I'll be leaving first." Zhao Huqing glanced at his daughter and got up to leave. This girl was also silly. He had just asked her to divorce Jiang Tian and remarry Lu Wangfeng, but she was so stubborn. When would she be enlightened? After Zhao Huqing left, Jiang Tian walked into the kitchen, took out the ingredients, and silently made breakfast. Soon, a fragrant aroma wafted out. Jiang Tian looked calm, but in reality his heart was already in turmoil. The four walls of the house were bare, and there was basically no decent furniture. The 29-inch television was bought by Zhao Xueqing from a flea market. Although his parents would send living expenses to him every quarter, and Zhao Xueqing was the manager of the R&D department at Zhao Medical Company and had a decent salary, most of the money was used to treat his illness. He had been indulging in debauchery and had long lost everything. He even had quite a bit of debt. Zhao Huqing didn't think highly of Jiang Tian and wanted to force Zhao Xueqing to divorce Jiang Tian. Naturally, he wouldn't help him with a single cent. Jiang Tian swore to himself as he made breakfast. Xueqing, I don't want you to continue living in poverty like this. I want you to be rich and powerful. I want to be your glory and make you a woman that all the women in the world are jealous of. Zhao Xueqing was very surprised as she ate the fragrant breakfast. Could it be that this kid had recovered and could actually cook? Perhaps his mental illness had become intermittent. After breakfast, Zhao Xueqing drove a red Chevrolet Cruze and drove Jiang Tian to Zhao Medical Company, which was located at Linzhou's Financial Street. This company specialized in Chinese medicine and was one of the top 10 in the entire Linzhou. Its assets had reached a scale of 100 million, and its employees' salaries were very high. Zhao Huqing was also a shrewd person. He let some of the children of the government officials take up positions in the company and get paid so that it would be convenient for him to build connections. Therefore, when he entered the car park in front of the company, he could see many luxury cars whizzing in. There were basically no Japanese or Korean cars, and there was no lack of luxurious sports cars. I remember, in my previous life, Zhao Xueqing seemed to have placed me in the public relations department. Jiang Tian walked in the corridor. Beside him were male employees in suits and office ladies in miniskirts. All of them were in high spirits and full of energy. It made him feel as if a lifetime had passed. In his previous life, after the Jiang family was destroyed, the Liu family immediately launched an attack on the Zhao family and annexed Zhao Medical Company. This company was removed from Linzhou overnight. As for these employees, they had all become unemployed. I've spoken to the Human Resources Department. You can go directly to the Public Relations Department. I'll help you with the paperwork, Zhao Xueqing said. The Public Relations Department basically had to accompany customers and government officials to eat, sing, build connections, sign orders, and rush for payment. The work was relatively simple. Xueqing, I don't want to embarrass you. Let's not expose our relationship here. Jiang Tian said softly. In fact, Zhao Huqing also understood this point. He wanted to get close to the Jiang family, but he also felt that the Jiang family's momentum wasn't too good. Therefore, Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing's marriage was relatively low-key and not many people knew about it. Oh, okay. Looking at Jiang Tian's bitter smile, Zhao Xueqing suddenly felt a little sour in her heart. He must be feeling inferior. In the past, Jiang Tian was a hedonistic young master in Jinling. He was a tyrant and no one dared to offend him. He was so powerful and domineering. But now, he was a mental patient who could be bullied by anyone. I'll go then. Jiang Tian walked to the Public Relations Department's office. The work there is easy, but you must remember not to drink too much. Your brain. Zhao Xueqing said worriedly. Got it. Jiang Tian felt a little sweet and warm. Even though he often beat her, she was still doing her duty as a wife. When he walked into the Public Relations Department, Jiang Tian was stunned. In the office, the men were tall and handsome, and the women were youthful and beautiful. Their figures were like models, and their auras were top-notch. It wouldn't be a problem to use them as cover models. When I entered the Public Relations Department in my previous life, my brain was already damaged. I didn't notice that the Public Relations Department was full of handsome men and beautiful women. Jiang Tian smiled slightly, found an empty desk, and sat down. These men and women weren't all handsome men and beautiful women, but they were all very good at dressing up and making them look youthful. At this moment, they were eating breakfast and drinking coffee while chatting about interesting things at work. They ignored Jiang Tian. Newcomer? Finally, someone noticed him. Jiang Tian looked at the guy sitting next to him. The guy was very handsome, but he had dark circles under his eyes and was yawning. Obviously, he had a reception task last night and was still drunk. Damn, I thought there would be a beautiful woman. I didn't expect it to be a rough man. He's not handsome. How can you enter the public relations department with your looks? The guy sighed. Even the lines are exactly the same. Shenle, you haven't changed at all. Jiang Tian sighed silently in his heart, but his eyes flashed with deep emotion. Chapter 7. In his previous life, Shenle was Jiang Tian's closest buddy after he entered the company. He helped him a lot and was like a brother. When the Zhao family was in a life-and-death situation, Jiang Tian had to return to the Jiang family to clean up the mess. He couldn't even take care of himself and could only ask Shenle to take care of Zhao Xueqing. In order to protect Zhao Xueqing, Shenle's legs were broken and he was stabbed several times by the furious Lu Wangfeng. After emergency treatment, although Shenle's life was saved, his legs were crippled. Shenle's girlfriend abandoned him because of this and followed a rich brother. Shenle drowned his sorrows in alcohol every day and he was completely crippled. Before he committed suicide, Jiang Tian went to see Shenle once. Shenle wailed and said that he didn't fulfill his responsibility as a brother and didn't protect Zhao Xueqing well. In my previous life, you and I were bullied like wild dogs and trampled like ants. We didn't have the slightest strength to fight back. In this life, I've been reborn. No matter what, I have to repay your great kindness and help you reach the peak. Jiang Tian's eyes narrowed and he sighed in his heart. When it was time to go to work, the head of the public relations department, Ding Yahan, walked in. She clapped her hands and asked Jiang Tian to introduce himself. Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing's marriage was kept a secret by Zhao Huqing. Ding Yahan didn't know anything about it, so she didn't pay special attention to Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian stood up and introduced himself briefly. Everyone saw that his appearance was ordinary and there was nothing amazing about him, so they continued to chat. When he sat down, there was only a few applause and he was completely ignored by everyone. Your introduction is too simple, right? In public relations, you have to be good at talking. You have to be good at talking. Shenle rolled his eyes at him and said smugly, "My name is Shenle. People gave me the nickname Master's Milk Killer. As long as the clients are aunties, there's nothing I can't get." Jiang Tian laughed in his heart. "Of course, I know your name. It's just that you're bragging a little. Why do I remember that you haven't gotten a single deal in half a year? Come, this brother will introduce you to some beauties." Shenle patted Jiang Tian's shoulder and laughed. "There are many beauties in our public relations department, but the most beautiful one is the flower of the public relations department, Wu Fangfei." Shenle pointed at a tall girl with exquisite makeup and a picturesque face. She used to be a print model for a company and endorsed several cosmetics. It was said that 2 years after she graduated, she had bought a big house and a sports car. Now that she's older and has passed the golden age of a model, she joined our company. Her annual salary and commission are 500,000 yuan. In 2007, an annual salary of 500,000 renminbi was definitely considered a high salary. Jiang Tian nodded and looked at Wu Fangfei. "Let me remind you, don't offend her." Shenle smiled and said, "In the whole company, not to mention the ordinary male employees, more than half of the department heads are her admirers. The pretty girls in the public relations department also surrounded her. If you offend her, you'll be completely alone. You won't be able to find a girlfriend, and you won't be able to stay in the company." "Oh, she's quite beautiful." Jiang Tian nodded. Seeing that Jiang Tian seemed to be interested, Shenle said with a poisonous tongue, "But you don't have to think about it. Because Wu Fangfei's eyes are on top of her head. Even a handsome guy like me can't enter her eyes. With your looks, it's even more hopeless." Then, Jiang Tian touched his cheek. "When I reach the qi refining stage, I'll change my appearance and scare you to death." "The one she likes is Jiang Qiushui," Shenle indignantly said, "but Jiang Qiushui is even more arrogant. Even she can't enter his eyes." Suddenly, he winked at the door and said, "Do you see that guy? Do you think he's more handsome than me?" "More handsome than you?" Jiang Tian looked at the door. He saw a tall and handsome young man who was late to the party. The handmade suit was incomparably sturdy. The pants were straight. A pair of leather shoes made by an old Italian shoemaker also showed his good taste. Qiushui is here. Come to my office for a chat. Ding Yahan, who looked a bit strict, said with a happy face. Not only was Jiang Qiushui's ability outstanding, his performance was outstanding. His uncle was also the deputy director of the Food and Drug Administration. Previously, the company's new drug was blocked by the Food and Drug Administration and couldn't get the approval. Jiang Qiushui came out and easily got it. In her heart, Jiang Qiushui was her baby. It didn't matter if he was late or left early. Jiang Qiushui carried his briefcase and walked to Ding Yahan's cubicle. All the female employees were staring at him with their beautiful eyes. It was as if they were fans who saw their idol. Even Wu Fangfei, who was listless during Jiang Tian's self-introduction, had a glint in her eyes, revealing a deep adoration. AI, he's awesome. We can't compare. I heard that his family is filthy rich. Moreover, he graduated from Huaqing University. Now, he only comes to the company a few times a month. His annual salary is already 1 million. Jiang Qiushui said with envy and jealousy. He likes the company's chairman's daughter, Zhao Qianru. Zhao Qianru. His sister-in-law seems to be interning in the finance department. Jiang Tian laughed in his heart and didn't say anything. This Jiang Qiushui was really smart. If Jiang Qiushui could marry Zhao Qianru, he would naturally get a lot of benefits. Seeming to have noticed Jiang Tian's mocking smile, Jiang Qiushui said in surprise, "What? You're not convinced?" Jiang Tian smiled slightly. "I don't think he's that great." In his previous life, Jiang Tian was often humiliated by Jiang Qiushui in the public relations department. However, at that time, his mind was sometimes good and sometimes bad. He couldn't resist at all. He even had some fear and shame in his heart. But now, he had returned after 10,000 years of cultivation. He had once reached the peak of the universe. How could he put such a small character in his eyes? You're really narcissistic. Even more narcissistic than me. Shen Le gave Jiang Tian a disdainful middle finger. Everyone started to get busy. Although Jiang Tian just came to report, Wu Fangfei ordered him around to the extreme. Whenever a client came, she would ask him to serve tea and water. She even went downstairs to buy fruits and gifts for the clients several times, welcoming and delivering them. This kind of work was not only tedious but also wouldn't result in Jiang Tian's performance. However, he didn't care. He came here to protect Zhao Xueqing. Soon it was noon. Everyone went out to eat. Jiang Tian touched his wallet and was dumbfounded. He went to buy fruits and gifts for the clients in the morning. He had spent more than 1,000 yuan that Tang Linglong gave him and hadn't reimbursed yet. Now, he was embarrassed and had only a dozen yuan left. After thinking about it, Jiang Tian decided to settle it at the fried noodles shop under the office building. Zhao's pharmaceutical company was located on one side of Lakeview Park. In front of it was a green Xiu lake. On the other side of Lakeview Park was the King's Villa Group, developed by the Guangxia Group. Lakeview Park was next to a mountain and had excellent feng shui. One villa was worth tens of millions. It was a well-known wealthy area in Linzhou. I remember this is the development project of Zheng Guangxia, the richest man in Linzhou. When I bought my wedding house in my previous life, I pestered my mother to buy a villa here, but she didn't agree. Scenes of the past came to his mind. Jiang Tian felt ashamed. He shook his head and sighed. At that time, he was too ignorant. He didn't know that the Jiang family was in deep crisis and his mother couldn't afford it. What an abundant spiritual energy. When he arrived at the office building, Jiang Tian suddenly took a deep breath. He felt a strong fluctuation of spiritual energy. Strange. Could it be that there are some spiritual herbs and spiritual fruits in the park? Jiang Tian frowned and walked toward Lakeview Park. Oh my God! It's Tianyuan fruit. When he saw a few red fruits the size of a pigeon's egg hanging on a shrub, Jiang Tian was excited and his eyes lit up. Tianyuan fruit was a fruit that only bore fruit once every 50 years. It contained rich innate spiritual energy. After consuming it, one could quickly break through to the middle stage of physique tempering. There was almost no precedent of failure. This kind of spiritual fruit was rare even in the cultivation world, let alone on Earth where spiritual energy was scarce. It seems that I'm really lucky. Jiang Tian was overjoyed. He immediately plucked the fruit and stuffed it into his mouth. He chewed and swallowed like crazy. Chapter 8. The taste was a little bitter, but there was a steaming hot aura that flowed into his qi, pure and abundant. Oh my God, is this person a lunatic? Why is he eating this kind of fruit? It tastes so bitter, even pigs won't eat it. Look at his dirty clothes. Who knows how long it has been since he cut his hair? He must be a lunatic. Seeing Jiang Tian crazily swallowing the wild fruit, many people in the surroundings stopped to watch, as if they were watching a scene from the West, and they started to mock him. Dad, how can you let brother-in-law work in the company? He's a lunatic, he only knows how to cause trouble. On the cobblestone path, Zhao Qianru was frowning as she called Zhao Huqing. Suddenly, she saw a scene that left her dumbfounded. She hung up the phone and immediately rushed to Jiang Tian's side. She snatched the Tianyuan fruit and exclaimed, "Brother-in-law, don't eat it. You'll be poisoned." "You're Qianru, right?" Jiang Tian looked at his sister-in-law in confusion and finally recognized Zhao Qianru. Zhao Qianru was only 2 years younger than Zhao Xueqing. She was still in university and was currently working as an intern in the company's finance department. The little girl was very beautiful, revealing her snow-white cleavage. She had a pair of snow-white legs under her denim hot pants. Her snow-white feet were in black open-toed high heels. At this moment, looking at her radiant and energetic appearance, no one could imagine her tragic fate in the future. Her senior in high school, the son of the Chongyang district's mayor, Lu Tianfeng, had been pursuing her and the two of them got married. Although Lu Tianfeng looked outstanding, he was actually a scumbag. Not only did he eat, drink, and gamble, he also abused his family. After the collapse of the Zhao family, Lu Tianfeng did not place Zhao Qianru in his eyes. He abused, beat, humiliated, and kept a mistress. In the end, he directly kicked her out of the family. Zhao Qianru couldn't take the blow and lost her mind. She lived a lonely and miserable life in a mental hospital. Although his sister-in-law had always looked down on him, she had never done anything out of line. For the sake of Zhao Xueqing, he still had to protect her. Shaking his head, Jiang Tian shook off the memories in his mind and gently smiled. "It's fine, you don't have to worry about me." He snatched the Tianyuan fruit again, wiped off the saliva on it, and put it in his pocket. "Don't run around, I'll call my sister." Zhao Qianru couldn't take it anymore when she saw the people around her pointing and whispering. Her face turned red and she immediately ran to the office building. Zhao Xueqing was sitting in front of her desk, staring blankly at the computer screen, but she didn't read any of the words on the document. It was Jiang Tian's first day at work. She didn't know if he would go crazy, get into trouble, or be bullied and humiliated. Sigh, am I too selfish? If others knew that he was my husband, they probably wouldn't dare to bully him. Just as he was letting his imagination run wild, his younger sister suddenly rushed in and exclaimed, "Sister, brother-in-law went crazy again. He's eating wild fruits." "It can't be?" Zhao Xueqing was stunned. "It's true, I saw it with my own eyes. He ate a lot of those smelly pomelos in the Lakeview Park. Will he be poisoned?" Zhao Qianru said anxiously. "What?" Zhao Xueqing quickly walked to the window and looked at the park. She saw Jiang Tian walking towards the office building while gulping down the wild fruits. He even revealed a satisfied smile. "I haven't given him any money for the past few days, he should be hungry," Zhao Xueqing muttered as her eyes lost focus. Even if he bullied her before, even if he was mentally unstable, he was still her husband. Even if he was a dog, she should give him a bite to eat. She didn't know if it was because of her tragic fate, or because she felt sorry for Jiang Tian, or because of something else. Zhao Xueqing suddenly laid on the table and cried. "Sister, don't cry, he will definitely get better." Under the comfort of her sister, Zhao Xueqing finally stopped crying. Zhao Qianru still had work to do, so she left. Hearing the knock on the door, Zhao Xueqing quickly wiped away her tears. Jiang Tian walked in and handed over a bag. He said with a fawning smile, "I saw this downstairs, so I bought some for you." He turned around and left. Zhao Xueqing opened the bag and looked. She was stunned for a long time, and tears came out of her beautiful eyes. It turned out to be a few soup dumplings that she liked the most. He didn't have anything to eat and relied on wild fruits to satisfy his hunger, but he remembered to buy food for her. His mental illness definitely hadn't been cured, but he knew how to care about her. Zhao Xueqing didn't know whether to be happy or worried. Jiang Tian returned to the office. Suddenly, Jiang Qiushui pointed at Jiang Tian and said with a mocking face, "Jiang Tian, is there something wrong with your brain? How come I saw you eating smelly pomelo downstairs? Aren't you afraid of diarrhea?" "None of your business. I didn't eat your food." Jiang Tian smiled coldly. Since they were enemies, Jiang Tian didn't bother to be polite with him. Jiang Qiushui's eyes suddenly turned cold and said with disdain, "You're just a newcomer, how dare you talk to me like that?" The girls also criticized, "Jiang Tian, did you eat gunpowder? Young Master Jiang is concerned about you." A dog biting Lu Dongbin ungrateful. Instantly, Jiang Tian became the public enemy of the Public Relations Department. Especially Wu Fangfei, who wantonly ordered Jiang Tian to do this and that. Jiang Qiushui tore some pieces of paper and threw them on the floor, pointed at Jiang Tian and ordered, "Jiang Tian, what game are you playing? Clean the floor." "I'm not dragging." Jiang Tian was too lazy to pay attention to him. "Are you looking for death?" Jiang Qiushui's best friend, Hu Feng, slammed the table, stood up and approached Jiang Tian, and shouted angrily, "Do you believe that I won't beat you up?" Hu Feng was tall and strong, and he was very good at fighting. Naturally, he didn't put Jiang Tian in his eyes. Shen Le quickly hugged Hu Feng's waist and said with a smile, "Forget it, brother Hu, Jiang Tian just came and doesn't know anything. I'll drag it, okay? You're just a loser, why are you so arrogant?" Hu Feng sat down resentfully. "Don't stop him next time, I can't beat him to death." Jiang Tian smiled at Shen Le. "Damn, brother, don't brag." Shen Le shook his head and persuaded, "Don't mess with him, Hu Feng is very good at fighting, a taekwondo expert." The afternoon passed quickly, and it was time to get off work. Ding Yahan came to the office, clapped her hands and said, "Tonight, we have to cooperate with the finance department to meet with General Manager Cheng of Donglin Medicinal Materials Trading. General Manager Cheng owes us 10 million yuan, and it's been 3 years and he still hasn't collected it. Tonight, everyone must cheer up and get the money back. Damn, he's such a shameless Cheng. This guy is not easy to deal with. I was beaten up by his company's security guards." Shen Le complained gloomily. "Yes, General Manager Cheng has a strong background, and it's not good to offend him. Everyone must be careful when the time comes." Ding Yahan smiled and said, "We've booked a room at Dihao Club, let's go now." "Dihao Club, this time it's not low class." Shen Le said excitedly, "That's the most famous nightclub in Linzhou. I heard that it's the property of the famous brother Hao in Linzhou. Unfortunately, I have other clients to accompany tonight, so I can't go." "Brother Hao? I've heard of him, he's very powerful and has assets of 1 billion yuan. 2 years ago, no one dared to mess with him." The women were excited at the mention of Brother Hao, and even Wu Fangfei was slightly moved. A trace of jealousy flashed in Jiang Qiushui's eyes. Brother Hao was only 5 or 6 years older than him, but his strength was not something he could compare with. Chapter 9. After chatting for a while, everyone came to the parking lot. There were also Jiang Qiushui and Hu Feng, as well as some other women. However, Jiang Tian was brought along. Of course, no one actually hoped that Jiang Tian would play any important role, but after all, people still needed to do the rough work of serving tea, pouring wine, and serving cigarettes. Everyone in the public relations department had a high salary and most of them came from good backgrounds. Basically, everyone drove a car. Jiang Qiushui's car was an S-Class imported Mercedes-Benz that was worth millions. It was even better than Ding Yahan's car. Jiang Tian, work hard. In less than 3 years, you can also buy a house and a car. But, if you have the attitude you had this afternoon, how can you improve? Jiang Qiushui seemed to be giving advice to Jiang Tian, but there was a trace of disdain in the corner of his eyes. Jiang Tian, come here. Suddenly, Zhao Qianru came down and pulled Jiang Tian into her red Volvo. Jiang Qiushui was suddenly stunned. Even he had never sat in Zhao Qianru's car before, but she actually pulled Jiang Tian to sit in it. Zhao Qianru wouldn't like this guy, right? They're even holding hands. Hu Feng said with a frown. Get in the car. Jiang Qiushui's face immediately turned ashen and gloomy. In the Volvo, Zhao Qianru said coldly as she drove, Brother-in-law, I beg you, divorce my sister. But Jiang Tian was slightly startled. Your brain is completely broken, and you keep hitting her. I beg you, don't delay her anymore. Let her go, let her pursue her own happiness. Zhao Qianru said angrily. Qianru, I know what I did before was wrong, but believe me, I'm already fine. I'll protect you and your sister for the rest of your life. Jiang Tian said firmly. He was not angry. Zhao Qianru was not the kind of person who despised the poor and loved the rich. She was just concerned about her sister. You're fine? You want to protect me and my sister? Are you kidding me? Then why did you eat wild fruits for lunch? Zhao Qianru's face was bitter and her eyes turned red. That's not a wild fruit, that's a spirit fruit. Jiang Tian was speechless and could only shake his head helplessly. Zhao Qianru stopped talking and drove angrily. The West District was a mature district. It had all kinds of municipal facilities and was very prosperous. There were many bars, discos, restaurants, and all kinds of entertainment places. When Jiang Tian and the others arrived, the Dihao Club was already brightly lit. The hall on the first floor was resplendent and luxurious. The bright crystal chandelier shone on the spotless terrazzo floor, reflecting a dazzling light. On both sides of the door stood a row of beautiful women in cheongsam. All of them were tall and beautiful. If they were placed on the street, they would be goddesses. It was said that they were all university students who majored in modeling and flight attendants from the art school next door. As soon as they saw them enter, they bowed and greeted them. Jiang Qiushui walked at the front. Seeing him come in, the lobby manager hurriedly came over to greet him with a face full of joy. Young Master Jiang is here. Welcome, welcome. As the deputy director of the Food and Drug Administration, Jiang Qiushui's uncle was also in charge of food safety. Naturally, he had to be careful and did not dare to offend the operator of such an occasion. Is Xiao Qing here? A smear of pride appeared on Jiang Qiushui's face as he nodded his head reservedly. The lobby manager immediately led the way and smiled. We're here. We've already arranged for them to go in. It didn't take long for everyone to arrive at the room. Xiao Cheng was a fatty with a big head and big ears. He wore a thumb-sized gold chain with a jade ring on his finger. He looked like a tycoon with a cunning expression. After everyone greeted each other, they took their seats and the waiters started to serve the dishes. Xiao Cheng sat at the head of the table with everyone surrounding him. They were constantly toasting him with flattery, which made Xiao Cheng happy. As for Jiang Tian, he sat at the bottom and ate without toasting. He didn't fit in with the lively atmosphere. Sigh, looks like brother-in-law is completely crippled. But so be it. It's fine as long as he doesn't cause trouble for my sister. Zhao Qianru looked at Jiang Tian and sighed in disappointment. She felt sorry for her sister. Jiang Tian, why don't you toast to Xiao Cheng? You only know how to eat. Are you the reincarnation of a hungry ghost? Jiang Qiushui said with disdain. It's embarrassing to bring such a piece of trash out. If he doesn't toast and flatter, how can the customers be happy and pay? He owes us money. Why should I toast to him? Jiang Tian glanced at Xiao Cheng with disdain and said coldly, Are you courting death? Shut up. How can you say that? Everyone was shocked. Fortunately, Fatty Cheng was drinking happily with Wu Fangfei and didn't notice him. Forget it. Jiang Tian still has to send me home later. He can't drink. Zhao Qianru said with a forced smile. Jiang Tian's brain was damaged because of alcohol poisoning. If he drank, wouldn't he be done for? When Jiang Qiushui saw this, a trace of jealousy flashed in her eyes and her face was gloomy. Qianru actually wants him to send you home. Could it be that she has fallen for this brat? At this moment, Xiao Cheng had drunk a little too much. He grabbed onto Wu Fangfei's hand and smiled. Isn't it just 10 million yen? It's simple. As long as Miss Wu stays with me for a night, I'll happily sign the check. Wu Fangfei's face froze as she struggled to free her hand and forced a smile. Xiao Cheng, this joke is a little too much. She's a local of Linzhou, and she's also a model. She has accumulated some family business, so how can she give herself to someone for a little commission? Furthermore, her beloved Jiang Qiushui was watching from the side. She couldn't be too lowly. Come. So Cheng, let me toast to you. Everyone went to toast to help Wu Fangfei out, so she wasn't angry. When you enter society, you have to follow the rules of society. You can't be impulsive. It's common for PR personnel to be taken advantage of by customers. Unexpectedly, General Manager Cheng didn't give up. He put his arms around Wu Fangfei's neck and leaned over with a big mouth that reeked of alcohol. Miss Wu, I really like you. If you stay with me for a night, I'll give you 1 million yen in addition to 10 million yen. How about that? Wu Fangfei was so anxious that she was about to cry as she begged, Su Cheng, let go of me. There are so many people here. Hee, it's not good to have too many people, but it's fine to have fewer people, right? Let's go to the guest room upstairs. Xiao Cheng had already kissed her cheek. Everyone panicked, but they didn't dare to say anything. Xiao Cheng, let go. If you continue like this, I'll call the police. Wu Fangfei struggled and nearly threw Xiao Cheng to the ground. When Xiao Cheng finally stabilized his body, he couldn't help flying into a rage and slapped Wu Fangfei's face. I'm giving you face, but you don't want it? What bullshit PR lady? Aren't you here to sell yourself? If you don't sleep with me tonight, don't even think about taking a single cent. Shameless Cheng, what are you doing? Zhao Qianru was infuriated by Jiang Tian's attitude along the way. How could she tolerate this at this moment? She immediately rushed over, and even Ding Yahan couldn't hold her back. You even hit me. Are you a man? Not only did she move her mouth, she even pulled Xiao Cheng's arm. Xiao Cheng only stared at Wu Fangfei. He didn't even turn his head. He suddenly swung his arm and threw Zhao Qianru to the ground. Fuck, where did this bitch come from? Meddling in other people's business. Do you believe that I won't fuck you too? Chapter 10. Seeing Zhao Qianru on the ground, Jiang Qiushui and Hu Feng were instantly enraged. Blood rushed to their heads. Zhao Qianru was one of the most beautiful girls in the company. Jiang Qiushui loved her so much. How could he watch her being bullied? He strode forward and kicked Manager Cheng's chest, causing him to fall to the ground. Shameless Cheng, I gave you face, but you don't want it? Jiang Qiushui, how dare you hit me? Fatty Cheng crawled up. His face was red and twisted with anger. I treat you as a person. That's why I spoil you. If you push me too far, I'll get my uncle to investigate you. I'll see if your company can survive. Jiang Qiushui kicked Fatty Cheng again, making him stumble and fall outside the door. Hu Feng also stepped forward and kicked Fatty Cheng, causing him to roll on the ground. He held his head and screamed, You dare to hit young Master Zhang's woman? Are you crazy? Look at how spoiled you are. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Hu Feng was a black belt in Taekwondo. Ding Yahan was a little worried. She hurriedly pulled him and said, Stop. Something will happen if you continue. Besides, we're here for business. Get lost. Send the money to the company tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll beat you the next time I see you. Hu Feng stopped and spat a mouthful of phlegm on Fatty Cheng's face. Fatty Cheng was almost disgusted to death. Fatty Cheng struggled to get up and wiped the phlegm on his face. He was about to cry. When have I been bullied like this? His eyes turned red. He pointed at Jiang Qiushui and Hu Feng and said, Fine, don't leave if you have the guts. I'll get someone to kill you. He limped away. We'll be waiting for you. Hu Feng slammed the door. Jiang Qiushui curled his lips in disdain. What the hell? He really thinks he's a big shot. Tomorrow I'll get my uncle to investigate his company. Ding Yahan was a little worried, but she was relieved now. Jiang Qiushui had always been steady and reliable. He should be able to deal with Fatty Ching. Everyone sat down again. If it wasn't for Minister Ding stopping me, I would have beaten him to death. Hu Feng also had a complacent look on his face. Wu Fangfei's beautiful eyes rippled as she looked at Jiang Qiushui gratefully. Qiushui, thank you for just now. Young Master Jiang, Brother Feng, you're so cool. A hero saving a damsel in distress. How satisfying. This was the first time a PR manager had hit a client. Young Master Jiang has created history this time. Awesome. How satisfying. Just now, I really wanted to go over and kick him a few times too. Instantly, the entire place was filled with praises. In the field of public relations, it was unavoidable to be bullied and humiliated. Everyone was usually depressed and resentful, but today, they could finally hold their heads high. Suddenly, Hu Feng's gaze landed on Jiang Tian, and he said with slight mockery, Jiang Tian, weren't you pretty cocky previously? Why aren't you giving a toast to Zhou Cheng? I thought you were so awesome. But I didn't expect that when it came down to it, you would be so terrified. Yes, Qianru and Fangfei were bullied, but you didn't even move. Are you still a man? Do you still have any guts? This is outrageous. All the women started to criticize Jiang Tian, feeling bitter and hateful. Even Zhao Qianru's eyes flashed with disappointment, and she said softly, you said you would protect me and my sister forever, but now. Jiang Tian leisurely ate the prawns and said unhurriedly, how is this kind of trash worthy of me taking action? Everyone was suddenly stunned, and then they laughed. Damn, Jiang Tian, you're really a clown. You don't even have a draft for bragging. In a luxurious office of the Imperial Club, there was a Swarovski crystal chandelier, a leather sofa imported from Italy, mahogany and red sandalwood furniture, and a shelf full of jade and jade ornaments and antiques. Any one of them was worth millions. On the spacious sofa, a young man in an Armani suit who was less than 40 years old sat in the middle. In his arms was a beautiful woman in her 20s, wearing a red evening gown. She was sexy and seductive, especially the pair of snowy peaks in front of her chest. If she walked out, she would definitely cause a commotion. This woman was Sister Dong Dong, the general manager of the Imperial Club, and also an internet star. She had starred in 2 web dramas with amazing views, and was worshipped by hundreds of millions of otakus as the big-breasted goddess. At this time, this beautiful woman was picking up a strawberry with a toothpick and feeding it to the middle-aged man in the suit. Behind the middle-aged man in the suit, there were more than a dozen big men in black. They were all tall and sturdy, with sharp eyes and murderous intent. Suddenly, Fatty Ching pushed the door open and came in, shouting loudly, "Fuck, today is so fucking unlucky." Hearing Fatty Cheng's voice, the Armani youth looked up and was stunned. Damn, Fatty Ching, what's wrong with you? Why is your face so red? Did you get cooked? Fatty Ching sat on the sofa, picked up a glass of black square, and drank a mouthful and said angrily, Brother Hao, I was raped downstairs. You have to help me. Whether you're my brother or not depends on your performance. No way, someone dares to do that in the Imperial Club? The young man called Brother Hao frowned. That's right. Fatty Ching said angrily. Several PR people of the Zhao pharmaceutical factory asked me for money. I saw a pretty girl among them, so I wanted to ask her to accompany me at night. But I didn't expect that they would beat me and kick me several times. Sister Dong Dong immediately picked up her mobile phone, called the lobby manager, and asked, What's the background of those people? The lobby manager quickly bowed and said, It's Jiang Qiushui, the nephew of Jiang Jun, the deputy director of the Food and Drug Administration, and Hu Feng. They didn't leave after beating you up, and they're still drinking recklessly. The nephew of a deputy director, such a small official, dares to come out and cause trouble for such a small amount of money. If it was 10 years ago, I would have shot him. Fatty Ching said with disdain. Jiang Qiushui? Hu Feng? These two bastards dare to make trouble in my place? Their heads must have been squeezed by the door. Brother Hao didn't get angry, but laughed. With a contemptuous face, he patted Fatty Cheng's thigh and said, "Fatty Cheng, don't worry. My brother will give you an explanation for what happened today. You can kill them or cut them up with just a word. You can even take their lives." The lobby manager was so scared that her delicate body trembled and her beautiful face turned pale. In his heart, he thought that these unlucky kids who didn't know the difference between life and death were going to suffer. She had worked in the Dihao Club for several years, so of course, she knew Brother Hao's terrifying strength. Zhou Zhenghao was a first-class tycoon in Linzhou. He controlled more than a dozen nightclubs like the Dihao Club and the Diwang Palace, all of which were gray businesses. Together, his assets were nearly 2 billion yuan. In the Xiqing district, Zhou Zhenghao ran amok. He could drink and chat with the district secretary, so he could be said to be very powerful. But this Fatty Cheng had a deep relationship with Zhou Zhenghao. More than 10 years ago, Zhou Zhenghao and Fatty Cheng made their first pot of gold by running underground casinos with usury loans. Later, when the matter was exposed, General Manager Cheng took the blame for him and went to jail for 2 years, which won precious time for Zhou Zhenghao's development. However, now that Zhou Zhenghao's business was big, he made friends with decent businessmen and government officials, so he didn't deal with General Manager Cheng in public. Their relationship was unknown. But in private, Zhou Zhenghao said more than once that he wouldn't be where he was today if Fatty Cheng didn't take the blame for him. The two of them were friends who had gone through life and death together. They were as close as real brothers. Now that Jiang Qiushui and Hu Feng beat up Brother Hao's good brother, how could they get away with it? Well done. There's nothing else for you to do. You can go now. Sister Dong Dong nodded approvingly at the lobby manager and waved her out. After the lobby manager left, Zhou Zhenghao turned around and said to a big man with a tiger tattoo on his arm, "Ahu, control the relevant people and don't let them out of the room. After all, we are doing business here. It's not good to let the guests see us killing people." Chapter 11. Yes. Brother Hao. Ahu responded in a loud voice as he bowed to Li Mu. Then he stood up, stretched, and said casually, "Let's go, Fatty Cheng. Let's go together. Let's see how your brother will vent your anger for you today." While Jiang Qiushui and Hu Feng were bragging without knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. With a loud bang, the door was kicked open. More than a dozen burly men rushed into the room and blocked the door. Ahu, who was the leader, glanced at Jiang Qiushui and Hu Feng and said, "I heard that you hit people, right? Everyone kneel down." "Damn, poor you. You asked me to kneel down, so I hit people. What's wrong with that? You're courting death." Hu Feng, who had drunk a few glasses of wine, was very hot-blooded and said arrogantly, "You want to die?" Ahu's eyes flashed and his face was ferocious. "You're the one who's going to die." Hu Feng was a taekwondo master and thought that he had the right to be arrogant. Before his voice died away, he had already stepped forward and kicked toward Ahu's neck with a high whip kick. Ahu grinned and reached out his hand like an iron pincer. He grabbed Hu Feng's right foot and kicked him in the chest. With a whoosh, Hu Feng flew more than 3 meters away and fell to the ground. He vomited all the food he had eaten at night. He covered his chest, grimaced, and stared at Ahu in shock and fear. He didn't even dare to fart. At this moment, everyone's face turned pale with fright. Little princesses like Zhao Qianru and Wu Fangfei were doted on by their parents. When had they ever seen such a scene? Wu Fangfei was so scared that her face turned pale and she screamed, "Are you going to kneel down obediently or be beaten up like this trash?" Ahu's cold eyes glanced around and said lightly, "Brother, I know your boss, Brother Hao. You just need to take me to see him. Let my friend leave first." Jiang Qiushui, however, was very arrogant. He calmly put his hands behind his back and a trace of arrogance flashed in his eyes. "Damn, you drank a few pounds of cat urine at night. What nonsense are you talking about? Do you think you're worthy of our Brother Hao's acquaintance?" The thugs sneered, their faces full of mockery. Jiang Qiushui didn't expect that Ahu and the others wouldn't give him any face at all. His handsome face also stiffened. He couldn't help but feel a little angry and said angrily, "You dare to talk to me like that? My name is Jiang Qiushui. My uncle is Jiang Jun of the Food and Drug Administration. Not to mention you guys, even if Brother Hao came, he would have to give me some face." "You said that I should give you face. Is your face that big?" A mocking voice came from the door, startling Jiang Qiushui. Under the escort of several men in black, a young man who was as tall as a mountain slowly walked into the room with a gloomy face. It was Zhou Zhenghao. "Brother Hao, aren't we talking about this now? I wouldn't dare to disrespect you." Seeing Fatty Cheng following Zhou Zhenghao with a sinister smile, Jiang Qiushui was even more shocked. She hurriedly tried to flatter him. "Brat, you're crazy. How dare you hit someone in my territory?" Zhou Zhenghao sat on a chair handed over by Sister Dong Dong. He crossed his legs and said with a sinister smile, "Brother Hao, we were wrong today. For the sake of my uncle, please let us go this time." Jiang Qiushui tried his best to keep calm, but his slightly trembling hands ruthlessly exposed the fear in his heart at this moment. "Your uncle? Who does your uncle think he is? You can call Jiang Jun and ask him if he dares to answer this call." Zhou Zhenghao glared at him and his voice was like rolling thunder. Jiang Qiushui was so scared that his face turned pale and his whole body suddenly trembled. "Brother Hao, I know I was wrong. As long as you let us go, we can compensate Fatty Cheng. How about 100,000 yuan? Jiang Qiushui begged. 100,000 yuan? Are you kidding me? I don't care even if you give me 100 million yuan. Today I just want to vent my anger." Fatty Cheng, who was sitting next to Zhou Zhenghao, said with a sinister smile. "All the men here, kneel down to Fatty Cheng and slap yourselves 20 times. Otherwise, cut off your fingers." Zhou Zhenghao slowly put a cigar in his mouth. The flickering flame of the lighter illuminated his face. Brother Hu and his men threw a dozen knives at the feet of the crowd. Everyone was so scared that they kept quiet out of fear. "Women? It just so happens that our imperial palace is short of young ladies. You guys are quite good-looking. Go to work. Of course, now we have to try the bell first. Crawl over on your knees and blow the trumpet for Fatty Cheng." Zhou Zhenghao puffed out the smoke from the cigar and said without a care. Women like Wu Fangfei and Ding Yahan were just from well-off families without any background. Zhou Zhenghao had harmed countless women from good families like this. He didn't even care about a little rich second generation like Zhao Qianru. So what if he bullied them? "Qiushui, help me. I don't want to blow the trumpet for him." Wu Fangfei was so scared that she shivered. Her pretty face turned pale and she looked at Jiang Qiushui for help. However, Jiang Qiushui avoided her eyes. He endured the humiliation and slowly knelt down and began to slap himself. Slap, slap, slap. The crisp sound of the slap resounded through the crowd and hit the fragile hearts of the crowd. Everyone's face turned pale and their heartbeats accelerated. The atmosphere was extremely oppressive. "Ah, nice. It's so refreshing." Fatty Cheng laughed arrogantly. He took off his pants and pointed at Wu Fangfei. "Come, Miss Wu. Blow it for me first." Wu Fangfei was in despair. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears. Was her pure body going to be ruined here today? "No, I don't want to be a prostitute." The most timid girl fainted and collapsed on the ground. "Hurry up. If you don't come over, I'll chop you up and feed you to the dogs." Fatty Cheng shouted fiercely. Wu Fangfei was so scared that she cried. She ran to Jiang Qiushui and pulled his arm. "Brother Jiang, save me. I can't be ruined by them. Fangfei, go ahead and blow it. Otherwise, we'll all be crippled. We won't look down on you." Jiang Qiushui was already scared out of his wits by Ahu's skills. He lowered his head with a pale face and wished that he could find a hole to hide in. "Zhao Qianru and you. Hurry up and blow it for me. Didn't you push me just now? You really don't know what's good for you." Fatty Cheng pointed at Zhao Qianru and sneered. "What should we do?" Zhao Qianru was also scared out of her wits. Her delicate body was trembling in panic. She didn't expect Fatty Cheng to have Zhou Zhenghao behind him. Zhou Zhenghao was someone that even her father couldn't afford to offend. "What should we do? Let's fight." Just when everyone was crying for help, Jiang Tian smiled indifferently and took a step forward. No matter what, Zhao Qianru was his sister-in-law. He couldn't watch her be bullied by others. Otherwise, Xueqing would be sad. At this moment, everyone's hearts skipped a beat. They were completely stunned. Jiang Tian, what are you doing? Didn't you see that Hu Feng was no match for him? You're courting death. Jiang Qiushui screamed. They were just slapping themselves in the face. If they angered Zhou Zhenghao, they might be beaten to a pulp. Chapter 12. Jiang Tian, you idiot, go ahead. Even if you're beaten to the point you bleed, I wouldn't seem so miserable and unbearable. A wisp of a mocking smile appeared on the corners of Hu Feng's mouth, and he took pleasure in Jiang Tian's misfortune. What? Jiang Tian? Looking at Jiang Tian's slightly thin back, Zhao Qianru, Wu Fangfei and the other girls were shocked, but a trace of deep emotion and guilt appeared in their beautiful eyes. Tonight, their group had been wantonly mocking Jiang Tian. But when it came down to it, Jiang Tian and Hu Feng did not care about their lives at all. Instead, it was Jiang Tian, a little loser that they looked down on, who stood up for them. Jiang Tian, you can't do it, come back quickly. Zhao Qianru stomped her feet anxiously as sparkling tears welled up in her eyes. Brother-in-law was sick again, he was crazy. He didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. He couldn't even beat his sister. How could he be a match for Zhou Zhenghao's group of ruthless people? The disparity in strength was no different from a little white rabbit challenging a prehistoric Tyrannosaurus Rex. Wasn't this courting death? Oh, there's still someone who wants to be a hero and save the beauty. Looking at Jiang Tian with disdain, Zhou Zhenghao laughed contemptuously. However, in my opinion, you're not a hero. I'll turn you into a bear at any moment. He really doesn't know what's good for him. Tiger, kill him for me. Brother Hao, do you really want me to make a move? I'm really afraid that I'll kick him to death. Ahu laughed sinisterly as he strode forward and kicked towards Jiang Tian's neck with a high whip kick. In an instant, the wind from his kick was like a blade, causing the air to explode. Everyone could clearly hear the sharp sound of the wind from 3 meters away. Ahu's strength is so terrifying. Jiang Tian is dead for sure. This kick can definitely break a brick. Hu Feng screamed in his heart. The girls also screamed in shock. Jiang Tian shook his head slightly. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Tiger's ankle with great precision. Then he exerted his strength. Ahu let out a heart-wrenching cry. His ankle was completely broken. Then, Jiang Tian strode forward and punched Ahu in the chest. Immortal Martial 18 Forms, First Form. Mountain-splitting fist. Poof. A stream of blood spurted out from Ahu's mouth. He flew out like a rag doll, slamming heavily into the wall, and then slid down to sit on the ground. The wall shook violently from the impact, and an elegant oil painting of sunflower fell down and hit Ahu's head. However, Ahu was motionless and had already fainted. There was dead silence. How is he so powerful? Jiang Qiushui's face was filled with shock as he muttered in a low voice, feeling incomparably bitter in his mouth. He had been mocking Jiang Tian today. If Jiang Tian had lowered himself to his level, he would have been beaten to a pulp by Jiang Tian. How is this possible? Hu Feng swallowed his saliva in disbelief. He loved Taekwondo, so of course he knew what it meant to send Ahu, who weighed more than 160 pounds, flying over 5 meters with one punch. The force of Jiang Tian's fist was probably a few hundred pounds, which was already the limit of a human body. Zhao Qianru, Wu Fangfei, and Ding Yahan all stared at Jiang Tian in disbelief as if they had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Not bad. Even Zhou Zhenghao was taken aback by Chen Fan's reaction. However, he soon calmed down as he was used to seeing such a scene. He tapped his finger lightly on the armrest of the chair and said lightly, "No wonder you are so arrogant. However, Ahu is only the 3rd most powerful fighter under my command. You are still no match for the other 2. Is that so? Then I would really like to try." Jiang Tian said lightly. Jiang Tian had once dominated the universe and dominated an era. Thousands of old demons and monsters had submitted to him and worshipped him as the Taichu celestial lord. Now, Jiang Tian was just a few ordinary people from a few secret societies. Why would he care about them? Fine. Then I will show you how many eyes Lord Ma has. Zhou Zhenghao threw the half-smoked cigar on the ground and crushed it under his foot. He then grinned like a demon. If you can walk out of the Imperial Club in one piece today, I will fucking change my surname to yours. As soon as he finished his sentence, two muscular men stepped out from the crowd and slowly approached Jiang Tian. One of them took off his shirt, revealing his bronze-colored muscles. His hands were wrapped with hemp rope. The other one was wearing a white taekwondo outfit. He had long legs and a black belt around his waist. These two are Dong Yin, a Muay Thai master. He once won the golden belt in Macau. The two of them are my trump cards. Taekwondo's 4th-degree black belt expert, Park Dae-sun. Zhou Zhenghao looked at Jiang Tian with disdain. Let me ask you, what makes you think you can fight with me? What makes me think I can? Facing the powerful pressure, Jiang Tian stretched out his jade-white palm and smiled faintly. These fists are enough. Dong Yin? Park Daxuan. Hu Feng was stunned when he heard the two names. He had watched the videos of the two's matches more than once. In his mind, both of them were high and mighty idols. However, he had never thought that the two of them would be recruited by Zhou Zhenghao. Zhou Zhenghao was indeed one of the most powerful men in Linzhou. No wonder Zhou Zhenghao could defeat Linzhou. It seems that he is not only relying on the powerful man behind him, but also his own ability. He is able to recruit such a powerful man to his side. Jiang Qiushui also lamented. What are you guys waiting for? Let's run while Jiang Tian is here. Wu Fangfei dragged Zhao Qianru out of the door. Ding Yahan and the other girls hesitated for a moment before following them. I will protect you guys. Hu Feng and Jiang Qiushui also jumped up. They did not forget to find an honorable reason for themselves. No, I want to be with Jiang Tian. Zhao Qianru was dragged to the door, but she shook off Wu Fangfei. She picked up a beer bottle from the table and stood behind Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian was touched. He smiled and said, Come at me together. They are really too weak. They are not even enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. You're courting death. Dong Yin's face darkened. He suddenly rushed out and jumped up high. He raised his right arm and then smashed his elbow like a giant axe towards Jiang Tian's head. Reverse elbow kill? Muay Thai was a killing technique known for its strength and agility. It mainly used the human body's fists, legs, knees, elbows, and forelimbs as 8 weapons to attack. Punches, kicks, knees, and elbows could be used smoothly. The strength was extremely abundant and the attack was fierce. And the reverse elbow strike was one of the greatest killing moves. The elbow smashed down like a giant axe. It was as if Mount Tai was pressing down. The air was torn apart and the wind whistled. It was extremely ear-piercing. Beautiful. Zhou Zhenghao's eyes flashed with a trace of brilliance as he clapped his hands and praised. Back then, when he had recruited Dong Yin as his hired thug, he had used this move to smash the 5-centimeter thick bluestone slab into pieces and successfully advanced to the next rank. Once, Zhou Zhenghao even let Dong Yin test his strength. This attack was at least 600 kilograms? No matter how strong Jiang Tian was, he was just a mortal. Wouldn't his head be smashed into pieces like a watermelon by Dong Yin? Sai, with this kind of skill, he dares to call himself an expert and come out to bully others. He really doesn't know life from death. Jiang Tian sighed softly. The corner of his mouth curled up in disdain as he shook his head lightly. When Dong Yin's elbow was 5 centimeters away from his head, Jiang Tian suddenly moved. Immortal Martial 18 forms. Second form, Grasping Sparrow Hand. At this moment, Jiang Tian's temperament suddenly changed. He raised his hands and hugged the air. He looked infinitely empty, but also incomparably deep, as if he contained a part of the universe. Then, Jiang Tian's hands twisted into a ball. With a series of cracking sounds, blood gushed out. Dong Yin's 2 arms that were as hard as copper and iron were all broken. Bang! Dong Yin fell miserably to the ground. Dong Yin, who was more than 10 times stronger than Ah Hu, had the same ending. He was still killed by Jiang Tian. Chapter 13. What? At this moment, Zhou Zhenghao could no longer remain calm. He exclaimed with his eyes wide open. Then, he flew into a rage out of humiliation and pointed at Jiang Tian like a mad lion. Go, all of you. I don't believe that he can walk out of here alive. I'll reward anyone who can defeat him with $1 million. The bounty would definitely attract brave men. The thugs who were initially a little afraid of Jiang Tian were tempted by the bounty and charged at Jiang Tian with weapons in hand. I have money and manpower. You have nothing. How are you going to fight me? Zhou Zhenghao smiled ferociously and shook his head regretfully. You're considered a talent to have such skills at your age. Unfortunately, you've offended me. Death is the only way out for you. The thugs were obviously used to fighting in groups. They cooperated well with each other and surrounded him in a fan-shaped formation. Moreover, they were all carrying machetes and baseball bats. If it were an ordinary person, they would have wet their pants. However, Jiang Tian only shook his head and said disdainfully, ? Zhou Zhenghao, don't you understand that an ant and a group of ants are the same in my eyes? I can still crush them with a wave of my hand. Then, Jiang Tian moved again. He performed mountain-splitting fist, sky-splitting palm, and sparrow-grasping hand in succession. His domineering chain kicks sent the thugs flying one after another. They were like rubber balls that were kicked, flying in all directions or rolling on the ground. Shiba! Park Dashuan was enraged. He cursed and charged at Jiang Tian. He raised his long leg high and sent a heavy downward chop at Jiang Tian's head. Jiang Tian let out a cold snort and waited for the others to close in on him. Then, he nimbly turned around to avoid Park Dashuan's downward kick. His elbow, which was as hard as iron, turned and smashed backwards. Crack! The ear-piercing sound of bones breaking resounded throughout the arena. It was heart-wrenching. Park Dashuan's right cheek caved in and his cheekbone was shattered. The expert who had rarely been defeated in Korea was now as weak as a baby in swaddling clothes. He fell at Jiang Tian's feet and covered his face as he screamed miserably. At this point, all of Zhou Zhenghao's subordinates fell to the ground and lost their ability to fight. I have to control my strength when fighting with these trash. If I used 50% of my strength, I might be able to kill him and cause a lawsuit. Jiang Tian secretly shook his head, stepped over the thugs on the ground, and walked up to Zhou Zhenghao step by step. He sat down on the chair and smiled. What are you doing? You're asking me why I should fight with you? Is this pair of fists enough? You. Zhou Zhenghao, who had been running amok in Linzhou for many years, was really scared now. 3 of his underlings had been killed by Jiang Tian in one move. More than 10 of his underlings had all fallen to the ground within half a minute. This was a true instant kill. Was this young man still human? What a devil! The people who had run out didn't leave immediately. Instead, they got into their cars and started discussing. Humph! Just because he can fight doesn't mean he can do well. This world is all about power and money. Brother Hao is powerful enough to suppress Linzhou. Jiang Tian is in trouble now. Jiang Qiushui said sourly. But at least he dared to protect us when we were in danger. You are not as good as him. Wu Fangfei didn't agree this time. Instead, she sneered and retorted. In her mind, Jiang Qiushui's image had completely crumbled. She would never forget his indifferent and cowardly look when she was forced to blow the horn. A little impatience spoils a great plan. Do you understand? Brother Hao will find us after he takes care of him. Jiang Qiushui said awkwardly. His face was flushed red, but he didn't argue. However, he was right. Zhou Zhenghao was a top tycoon in Linzhou after all. He was proud and arrogant. In the private room, after a brief moment of panic, he regained his composure and asked coldly, Brat, who are you? Oh, I am just like them. I am also a PR person. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. You're also a PR person? I am speechless. Kneel down and apologize to me now, and I'll let you go. Zhou Zhenghao said arrogantly. Why should I apologize to you? Jiang Tian frowned and said, Fatty Cheng was the one who sexually harassed me first. Jiang Qiushui and Hu Feng were the ones who did it. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Even thieves have their own morals. You have to follow the rules in this world. Why should I? Zhou Zhenghao sneered disdainfully, because I am stronger than you. This world is not as simple as having a strong fist. It also depends on connections, power, and background. You don't have any of these. You are no match for me. Is that so? Jiang Tian's eyes turned cold. Zhou Zhenghao sneered, You think you can do whatever you want just because you can fight? You are too naive. No matter how strong you are, can you withstand a bullet? Are you threatening me? Jiang Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. No. I have always been a law-abiding person. You are suspected of assault today. Believe it or not, I can send you to prison with just a phone call and let the police shoot you. Brother Hao, you are really something. Jiang Tian's tone turned cold. This guy was obviously up to no good. It seemed that he had to get rid of this guy. However, when and how should he get rid of this guy? While Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes and pondered, Zhou Zhenghao's phone rang. Suddenly, Zhou Zhenghao's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and was overjoyed. Brother Wei, why are you calling me? What can I do for you? Even if the other party was not in front of him, Zhou Zhenghao still bowed to him with a servile look. Haozi, help me investigate a person. A low voice came from the receiver. Who is it? Just tell me. I promise I will investigate it for you. Zhou Zhenghao said with a smile. It's very important. I will tell you in person. Brother Wei said seriously, You are at the Dihao Club, right? I'm already on my way. I will be there in 5 minutes. Zhou Zhenghao hung up the phone and looked at Jiang Tian with a smirk. Son of a bitch, just you wait. Brother Wei will be there in 5 minutes. You will be scared to death when he shows up. But then I will wait for him for 5 minutes and see who he is. Jiang Tian shook his head disdainfully. The only way to get rid of evil was to make his backer kneel down and surrender. Only then would Zhou Zhenghao become completely obedient and lose the courage to take revenge. Then, Jiang Tian picked up a toothpick, picked up a piece of watermelon from the fruit plate, and ate it slowly. A few minutes later, a series of powerful footsteps came from the door. A middle-aged man in a camouflage t-shirt walked in. The middle-aged man looked shrewd and tough. His eyes were as sharp as knives and his aura was stern. Zhou Zhenghao and his henchmen were no match for him. What's going on? He looked at the people who had fallen to the ground and was immediately puzzled. Brother Wei, you are finally here. I was bullied today. Zhou Zhenghao was overjoyed when he saw Jiang Tian. He walked up to him and pointed at Jiang Tian. It was this little bastard who did it. You have to help me get out of here, he said while bowing. He originally thought that Brother Wei would stand on his side and ruthlessly trample on Jiang Tian, this reckless brat. Unexpectedly, Brother Wei was shocked. He walked quickly to Jiang Tian and saluted him. He said in the most respectful tone he had ever used in his life, Master Kong, I am late. Are you okay? Chapter 14. Everyone was dumbfounded. Zhou Zhenghao was even more confused and couldn't believe what he was hearing. What was going on? Brother Wei was the old master's personal guard. Even the gangsters didn't dare to mess with him. How could he call himself Xiao Wei and call him a PR master? Jiang Tian picked up a piece of watermelon and put it in his mouth. After swallowing it, he asked calmly, Xiao Wei, is he your man? Brother Wei was Mr. Tang's personal guard, but he shouldn't have anything to do with Zhou Zhenghao. Zhou Zhenghao still hadn't realized what was going on. He went over and asked, Brother Wei, are you sure? He's a PR master for Zhao's pharmaceutical company. Why do you call him Master Kong? Zhou Zhenghao, no one will think you're a mute if you don't talk. Shut up. Zhou Zhenghao was so angry that his nose was crooked. He raised his eyebrows and slapped Zhou Zhenghao's face. How strong must a professional soldier's hands be? With a loud slap, Zhou Zhenghao staggered backward and almost fell to the ground. He was seeing stars and his face was burning. Blood was flowing out of his nose and mouth. However, Zhou Zhenghao was smart enough to get to where he was today. He thought that he must have met a tough guy today. He covered his face and didn't say a word. "You're angry. You don't want to admit defeat, right?" Brother Wei pointed at Zhou Zhenghao's nose and scolded. "Master Kong is the old master's guest, friend, and benefactor. How dare you mess with him? Are you tired of living? I'll call Secretary Tang and you'll be kicked out of Linzhou City tomorrow." Zhou Zhenghao trembled and broke out in a cold sweat. He couldn't believe it and said, "What? He's Mr. Tang's friend?" This was too inconceivable. In his impression, the people who were associated with the old master were either high-ranking officials or old generals with military stars on their shoulders, or famous martial artists who were over 60 years old. However, the young man in front of him was only in his early 20s. How was that possible? "You don't believe me? Why don't you ask Mr. Tang to come out and introduce Master Kong to you?" Brother Wei's cold voice suddenly sounded. "I don't dare. I don't dare. Brother Wei, today's matter is a misunderstanding." Zhou Zhenghao was extremely puzzled in his heart, but he still looked at Jiang Tian and said pitifully, Master Jiang, you're a great person. Please don't hold a grudge against a lowly person. Please let me go." "Let you go? What right do I have? Didn't you just say that in terms of connections, power, and background, I'm not as good as you?" Jiang Tian smiled faintly and picked up a grape. He carefully peeled off the skin and put it into his mouth. But Zhou Zhenghao slapped himself hard on the face and begged with a sobbing tone. "Master Kong, it's my fault for not recognizing MT Tai. It's my fault for spouting nonsense. Please let me off this time. Little Hao won't dare to do it again." Everyone present was dumbfounded. Zhou Zhenghao was such a powerful figure that he could call the wind and summon the rain in the West District and even the entire Lin State. But at this moment he actually slapped himself in the face and admitted his mistake in front of Jiang Tian. Isn't this a little too absurd? Everyone was puzzled. Who was this Brother Wei who dared to slap Brother Hao? Who was old Master Tang? "It's not a matter of whether you offend me or not. Zhou Zhenghao, I've heard of your name for a long time. Now that I've met you today, you really live up to your name. Bullying the weak and distorting the truth. Is this how you always do things? Others say that you're a powerful man, but in my opinion, you're just a scum of society. Your behavior is simply a disgrace to old Master Tang and the Tang family." Jiang Tian smiled and said, "Do you want me to tell old Master Tang what kind of behavior you are?" Sister Dong Dong, who knew the details, wailed in her heart. "It's over. Is today the day of Zhou Zhenghao's destruction?" Zhou Zhenghao was so anxious that he suddenly ran in front of Zhao Qianru and knelt down. "What are you doing?" Zhao Qianru was so scared that she took a step back. Zhou Zhenghao was so anxious that he was about to cry. He begged, "Miss, you're Mr. Zhang's girlfriend, right? Please help me say something. It's my fault." "You're mistaken. I'm not his girlfriend." Zhao Qianru blushed. "After all, you can say something. Please spare my life." Zhou Zhenghao slapped himself again and again, showing his ugly side as he begged bitterly. After all, girls were soft-hearted. Zhao Qianru pulled Jiang Tian and whispered, "Brother-in-law, forget it. He's quite pitiful." At this moment, she felt like she was in a dream and unreal. This powerful boss of the club had just forced her to blow the trumpet, but now he was scared like a 3-year-old child by Jiang Tian. No, he was more like a mangy dog. She believed that if she stretched out her toes, he would lick them without hesitation. What kind of Master Kong was he? Zhao Qianru looked at Jiang Tian's tall back. At this time, he had an indescribable feeling. Yes, it was a kind of aura, the aura of a superior. At this time, he was like a towering mountain, carefully protecting her under his wings. This feeling of being protected was really, really good. Jiang Tian had experienced countless killings and strife in the extraterritorial space. He was already used to the darkness and viciousness of human nature. He was not angry because of this. He just wanted Zhou Zhenghao to submit and not dare to take revenge on him. Since he had achieved his goal, Jiang Tian did not bother to say anything more. He pulled Zhao Qianru out of the room. As for Fatty Cheng, he did not even look at him. "I'll deal with you later." Wei Baowei glared at Zhou Zhenghao and hurriedly followed. "Get out." Zhou Zhenghao waved his hand and ordered his subordinates to get out of the room. After everyone had left, Yi Zichen stood up. Zhou Zhenghao collapsed on the sofa like a pile of mud. He wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and said, "Oh my God, I was scared to death. It's too scary." He looked at Fatty Cheng seriously and said angrily, "Remember, take a detour when you see Master Kong in the future. Also, pay back the 10 million you owe him. Don't cause trouble for me." "Damn, Brother Hao, who is that man? Look at you, you're scared. 10 million is not a small amount." Fatty Cheng shouted in confusion. Today, Zhou Zhenghao had almost ruined his future. He even wanted to commit suicide. Hearing this, he suddenly jumped up with strength he didn't know where he got it from. He pounced on Fatty Cheng like a lion and kicked him in the waist. Fatty Cheng cried out as he was kicked to the ground. It seemed that Zhou Zhenghao had miraculously recovered the skills he had when he was a hooligan at the critical moment. Fatty Cheng was groaning and crawling up with his hands covering his waist. He cursed, "Brother Hao, are you fucking crazy? Why did you kick me?" Zhou Zhenghao complained about the world and society. He even wanted to cry on the ground. Hearing this, he was even angrier. He pounced on Fatty Cheng and kicked him in the face. "You fucking crazy. I think you're my fucking jinx." Chapter 15. After kicking him to the ground, Zhou Zhenghao kicked him again and again until Fatty Cheng cried and begged for mercy. Zhou Zhenghao didn't stop until Fatty Cheng kicked him a few more times. Beating people was also a physical activity. Zhou Zhenghao wiped the sweat from his forehead and cursed, "Do you know who Master Tang is? He's the head of the Tang family in Linzhou City, the father of Secretary Tang. How dare you mess with Master Tang's favorite? You're going to get me killed." He kicked Fatty Cheng again as he spoke. Hearing the name, Tang family in Linzhou City, Sister Dong Dong's face turned pale. The Tang family was the most prominent family in Linzhou City in the past 100 years. They had many descendants and were famous in the political, business, and military circles. If they wanted to deal with Zhou Zhenghao, it would be as easy as crushing a bug. "How can I offend Master Tang's friend? Remember to return the money, or I'll kill you." Zhou Zhenghao sat on the sofa and panted. "I'll return it, I'll definitely return it." Fatty Cheng's face was bruised and swollen. He was almost scared to death by Zhou Zhenghao. The room was silent. Zhou Zhenghao sat in his chair with a worried look on his face. He didn't say a word as he frowned. Zhou Zhenghao suddenly said, "We can't just let this go. If Brother Wei and Master Kong talk nonsense in front of Master Tang, I'll be in trouble. Even Lord Dragon Fifth will be in trouble. But how can we persuade them? It's the Tang family in Linzhou City." Sister Dong Dong thought for a while and said with a smile, "Brother Hao, I think the key is still Master Kong. It's just that we need to understand his temperament and personality and cater to his liking." "Dong Dong, you're really my female Zhuge." Zhou Zhenghao's eyes lit up and he praised, "You're right. After all, he's still young. As long as I humble myself and pester him, he'll forgive me. I'll leave it to you. Investigate him for me." "That's right. This Grandmaster Jiang is the old master's favorite. If Brother Hao can ride his coattails, he will definitely soar to the sky." Sister Dong Dong smiled. On the other side, Brother Wei accompanied Jiang Tian to the parking lot. That Zhou Zhenghao is the younger brother of Tang Wanyan, the third son of the Tang family. Both of them are good for nothings, but for the sake of Elder Tang. Sure. Jiang Tian did not take it to heart. He was not willing to lower himself to the same level as an ant. "Master Kong, the old master would like to invite you to stay at home for a few days. When do you think you'll be free?" "Leave it to fate. If I have the time, I will pay him a visit." Jiang Tian knew that the Tang family was powerful, but it was nothing in front of self-cultivators. Right now, he only wanted to protect his loved ones and friends, and cherish every minute and second that they spent together. "Master Kong, can you give me your contact information?" Brother Wei smiled bitterly. As expected of an expert. His arrogance was great. If an ordinary person were to receive an invitation from the Tang family, they would be overjoyed. I don't have a cell phone. How about this? I'll give you my office phone number. Jiang Tian spat out a number and asked him to write it down. Master Kong, shall I send you home? Brother Wei said with a smile. Don't bother. Chanru drove the car. She drank, so I have to send her home. Jiang Tian smiled and declined politely. After Brother Wei left, Zhao Chanru hugged Jiang Tian and said while sobbing, Brother-in-law, I was scared to death just now. Now that there was no outsider present, the shock and grievance from before could finally be vented out. The little girl lay in Jiang Tian's arms and began to sob. The little girl's figure was exquisite and her clothes were thin. Jiang Tian could feel the softness and warmth of her chest and smell the tempting fragrance of her body. A trace of tenderness couldn't help but arise in Jiang Tian's heart when he saw the sparkling and translucent tears beneath her long eyelashes and her delicate little face, and he lightly wiped away her tears before he said with a light smile, Silly girl, with brother-in-law here, how could I allow you to suffer any harm? Otherwise, how can I face your sister? Brother-in-law is the best. You're the best brother-in-law in the world. The little girl smiled through her tears and pulled Jiang Tian's hand. She was unwilling to let go, completely forgetting that just a few hours ago, she still regarded Jiang Tian as a useless trash. Keep your flattery. I'll send you home. Jiang Tian rubbed her head and turned to open the door of Zhao Chanru's red Volvo and sat in the driver's seat. Brother-in-law is so warm. Zhao Chanru was intoxicated and her pair of beautiful eyes curved into a beautiful crescent moon shape. In the parking lot, inside the Mercedes-Benz. Seeing Jiang Tian and Zhao Chanru whispering sweet nothings to each other, Jiang Qiushui, who didn't know the relationship between the two, looked more and more unsightly. How did he come out alive? Hu Feng's face was filled with shock and disbelief. It's probably Zhao Chanru's father. Jiang Qiushui was also very surprised and finally thought of an explanation. No matter how good Jiang Tian was at fighting, Brother Hao had a lot of power. If he called the police, wouldn't Jiang Tian have to surrender? Only if Zhao Huqing personally begged Brother Hao would Brother Hao be able to let go of Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing. But, second miss just now. Hu Feng wanted to say something but hesitated and looked at Jiang Qiushui sympathetically. Zhao Chanru and Jiang Tian hugged and held hands. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that she had fallen in love with Jiang Tian. He suddenly felt that Jiang Qiushui's head was so green that it was about to become a prairie. I won't let him go. So what if he can fight? I have my own ways to deal with him. Jiang Qiushui snorted and his eyes emitted a bitter cold light. Brother-in-law, how did you suddenly become so powerful? You were so impressive just now. You're even more powerful than Jet Li. In the car, Zhao Chanru was so excited that her face was flushed red. She chattered non-stop and was still immersed in the shocking scene just now. One day, I went to the 100-feet cliff to play and accidentally fell off the cliff. I picked up a ring and saw that there was a white-bearded old man living inside. Jiang Tian thought of the web novels that he often read in his previous life and immediately thought of a classic scene. Brother-in-law, you're so bad. You're lying to my baby. Zhao Chanru pouted her delicate red lips and pouted. She knew that something must have happened to Jiang Tian. However, since her brother-in-law did not say anything, he naturally had his reasons for not saying anything. She did not ask further. Suddenly, Jiang Tian said, "Oh right, don't tell Mom, Dad, and your sister about this so that they won't worry." Zhao Huqing was just a small cadre. His family business could not be compared to Brother Hao's. If he heard about this, he would probably be scared witless. As for Zhao Xueqing, she had always been annoyed by him. Even if she was a cultivator, in her opinion, fighting was a very rude behavior. Yes, I know. Zhao Chanru nodded like a chick pecking at rice. It felt great to have a little secret with her brother-in-law. Chapter 16. After sending Zhao Chanru home, Jiang Tian didn't follow her upstairs. Instead, he took a taxi and returned to the Times mansion. In the study, the lights were still on. Zhao Xueqing was still working overtime, flipping through a thick Chinese medicine book. Zhao Xueqing was originally a finance major. In terms of management ability, she was even expected to take charge of the entire Zhao pharmaceutical company. In fact, Zhao Huqing once had such a plan. After all, in this case, the Jiang family's Medicine King group would wholeheartedly help their daughter-in-law, right? But when he realized the reality of the Jiang family's decline, Zhao Huqing gave up this idea. The enemies of the Jiang family were too powerful. They might go for wool and come home shorn. They might even attack the Zhao pharmaceutical company, so he handed over the company to his wife, Wei Fang. Wei Fang was afraid that Zhao Xueqing would show her management ability and take control of the Zhao pharmaceutical company, so she let her be the head of the research and development department. But Zhao Xueqing didn't know how to make medicine, so she could only read books every day. At this time, Zhao Xueqing was sitting at the desk, looking at a thick stack of documents. She was deeply troubled by a prescription, frowning and thinking hard. The prescription was called Muscle Nourishing Ointment, which was bought by the Research and Development Department from a barefoot doctor who had been practicing medicine for generations. It was said that it had a miraculous effect on treating trauma, ulcers, and pus. However, after research, it was found that although this ointment had a certain therapeutic effect, it also had obvious side effects. It would cause the patient to have a headache and dizziness. The clinical trial had never been passed by the Food and Drug Administration. Jiang Tian is back. Suddenly, she heard the sound of the door opening. She was shocked and her body stiffened. On the night of their wedding, the drunk Jiang Tian gave her a good beating. From then on, Zhao Xueqing realized that her marriage was a complete tragedy. Since then, she insisted on sleeping in separate rooms with Jiang Tian. Although Jiang Tian coveted her beauty and had tried many times to obtain her body, Zhao Xueqing guarded herself to death and resisted with all her might. Thus, Jiang Tian had yet to succeed. Zhao Xueqing wanted to go out and ask him about the situation tonight, but she didn't get up. She was afraid that Jiang Tian would do something to her. Outside the door, there was a soft sound of footsteps, then the sound of the door opening and the sound of the shower. A moment later, the door of the second bedroom was closed with a bang. The sound of the door closing wasn't loud, but in Zhao Xueqing's ears, it was like a sudden clap of thunder, causing her delicate body to tremble slightly. When will this kind of widowed marriage come to an end? Don't tell me I'm really going to divorce him? After a long time, Zhao Xueqing finally calmed down. However, a deep sense of sorrow welled up in her heart and her eyes reddened. She had a boyfriend who was prince like a prince, holding a rose, helping her put on a diamond ring on her hand, and said that he would always love, he would love and love her. However, when she woke up from her dream, she realized that he was just an idiot who only knew how to bully her. Her life was too hard. If he was normal when we just got married, it wouldn't be a problem for me to leave him. However, he's mentally unstable now. If I abandon him cruelly, how can I be at ease? How can I face his parents? Zhao Xueqing couldn't read the information in front of her anymore. Her vision blurred, and drops of tears fell on the desk. Jiang Tian cultivated all night. The Tianyuan fruit contained pure and rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It was very abundant, far from what the evil spirit in Elder Tang's body could compare to. When he opened his eyes in the morning, the aura of the Tianyuan fruit had been completely refined into the true yuan of his body. I broke through to the second level of the body tempering stage and activated the heavenly eye technique. This technique created by the crocodile ancestor is really heaven-defying. Jiang Tian let out a satisfied sigh. His eyes shot out a beam of white light that was more than a meter long. At this time, the black casing of the wall-mounted TV instantly disappeared in front of him, and the circuit board and components were clearly visible. His gaze broke through again, and the entire TV disappeared from his sight. His gaze penetrated the wall and entered the bathroom in the next room. The scene in front of him made Jiang Tian's heart skip a beat. He saw a graceful and delicate body under the shower curtain. Her curves were exquisite, and her whole body was snow white. Her full breasts and slender waist had a great visual impact. Even though Zhao Xueqing had strictly guarded herself, Jiang Tian had seen her naked appearance several times before. However, it was the first time that Jiang Tian saw it so clearly. It made his heart beat faster and blood rush to his head. It turned out that his wife was so beautiful. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. A white light flashed in his eyes, and he retracted his gaze. After Jiang Tian finished washing up, Zhao Xueqing also came out of the bedroom with her clothes on. She asked softly, "You went to see Fatty Ching yesterday. Did anything happen?" "I'm fine. I just followed your instructions to eat more and drink less." Jiang Tian quickly smiled. In Zhao Xueqing's eyes, he looked a bit silly and even seemed to be flattering her. "You rest for a while. I'm going to cook," Zhao Xueqing said inwardly. "He cooked yesterday morning and didn't harass me at night. I'll cook for him as a reward." Smelling the smell of smoke from the kitchen, Jiang Tian sat on the sofa, and his heart was filled with tenderness. For thousands of years, wasn't this warm and peaceful scene what he had been longing to see and yearning for? He suddenly had an unprecedented sense of satisfaction. Looking at Zhao Xueqing's back, who was wearing an apron and busying herself in the kitchen, he couldn't help but be dazed. When he came back to his senses, Jiang Tian suddenly found a stack of documents on the sofa. 10th experiment plan for muscle-nourishing plaster. A few big words on the cover came into view. This is probably Xueqing's research. Jiang Tian looked through it quickly and couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. This prescription was too unreasonable. There were 2 herbs that clashed and would definitely harm the patient's meridians and acupoints, causing headaches and dizziness. Jiang Tian's master was an immortal cultivator who ascended from Earth. He also relied on the herbs on Earth to refine pills, so he reached the peak of medicine. Jiang Tianqing was better than his master. His alchemy skills were amazing. He immediately came up with an improvement plan. He changed 3 kinds of traditional Chinese medicine, and the proportions were also changed. In this way, the new prescription not only had obvious effects but also no side effects. The cost was also lower. "What are you doing? How many times have I told you not to touch my documents? You just don't listen." Suddenly, Zhao Xueqing shouted. It turned out that she had already finished cooking and was bringing the dishes to the dining room. "Oh, nothing. I'm just taking a look." Jiang Tian was shocked. He put the documents aside and hurriedly got up to help bring the dishes. "You're not allowed to touch these documents in the future. Otherwise, you'll move out. I'll throw you out on the streets and let you freeze and starve to death," Zhao Xueqing shouted fiercely. However, she looked gentle and had just graduated from university half a year ago. Her little face was still a little childish and had some baby fat. No matter how fierce she was, she couldn't scare anyone. Instead, she was a little funny and cute. Yes, my dear wife, I know I'm wrong. Please forgive me this time. I won't dare to do it again." Jiang Tian raised his hands and surrendered. He put on a pitiful look and begged. In the past, Jiang Tian was invincible. He crushed powerful cultivators as if they were ants. When had he ever lowered his head and admitted defeat? However, at this moment, Jiang Tian could raise his hands and admit defeat in front of his beloved wife. He felt extremely satisfied and even happy. When he was in seclusion, he would eat and sleep in the teaching and research room. He would never pick up anyone's calls or see anyone. It was impossible to contact him at all. Then there's no need to confirm it. He probably changed it temporarily. Let's experiment according to this plan first. Zhao Xueqing instructed and left the laboratory. Jiang Tian is here. It's all thanks to you yesterday. Otherwise, we would have suffered a loss. On the other side, when Jiang Tian entered the office of the PR department, a round of applause rang out. Even Ding Yahan had a whole new level of respect for Jiang Tian. "Jiang Tian, have you eaten breakfast? I bought an extra set." Wu Fangfei handed a hamburger and a cup of coffee to Jiang Tian. "Thanks, I've eaten." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. He could tell that these girls had changed their attitude towards him. A trace of disappointment flashed in Wu Fangfei's eyes. However, she handed over a ticket and said, Jiang Tian, there's an opera performance tonight at the International Convention and Exhibition Center. If you're free, let's go watch it together. The girls present exchanged a glance. Since ancient times, beauties have always loved heroes. Wu Fangfei was probably no exception. Jiang Tian is too flashy. He just came to the PR department for a day, and he has already won Wu Fangfei's heart. How on earth did he do it? A few male employees were looking at Jiang Tian with envy. Shen Le especially was beating his chest and stamping his feet. I'm sorry. I have other things to do. I'm really sorry. Jiang Tian rejected politely. His whole heart was on Zhao Xueqing. How would he have the mood to go on a date with Wu Fangfei? It was a complete waste of time. Wu Fangfei was slightly stunned. She thought that her charm was outstanding. She did not expect Jiang Tian to reject her. Also, I hope that everyone will not spread the news about what happened last night. Jiang Tian returned in this life. He only wanted to protect his beloved wife and family. It was better to keep a low profile. He did not want to get into any trouble. And, don't worry. We won't spread the news. The few girls who participated in the reception last night nodded. Crouching Dragon Villa was huge and had an antique atmosphere. Tang Linglong was wearing a training suit. She was practicing martial arts in the courtyard. Her body was as agile as a swimming dragon. Her punches and kicks were vigorous. Elder Tang was sitting under a tall pine tree with a Yixing clay teapot in his hand. He watched the girl practice and gave her a few pointers from time to time. At this moment, Xiao Wei, who was dressed in martial attire, walked in quickly. He said in a deep voice, Elder Tang, we've almost figured out Jiang Tian's identity. How is it? Elder Tang's face turned serious. Jiang Tian is from Jinling. He's a descendant of the Jiang family. However, he's the son-in-law of Zhao Huqing from the Zhao family. He works at Zhao's pharmaceutical company. Xiao Wei said in a deep voice. Last night, he met two people from the Jianghu on the 100-feet cliff. He can withstand a long sword with his body. He has reached the state of invulnerability. Last night, he fought with Shou Zhenghao and defeated a few experts from the other side. Withstanding a long sword with his body, Elder Tang suddenly thought of a possibility. His face suddenly changed. He asked in surprise, do you think he's a traditional martial artist or, I think he's a cultivator of ancient martial arts? Xiao Wei swallowed hard and said with difficulty. How can you tell? He can draw qi into his body. The wind is howling and white qi is lingering around him. He can also breathe out a white light that is 10 feet long. Xiao Wei recalled the scene of Jiang Tian meditating on the 100-feet cliff. He could not help but feel his heart skip a beat. In his entire life, he had only seen such a scene once in a secret training session with Yi Zhantian, the #1 god of war of the Huaxialong formation. An ancient martial artist. So he's really a martial artist. Elder Tang exclaimed as a strange splendor flashed in his eyes. Although Elder Tang used to hold an important position in the Jianghu, he was actually just a martial artist in the secular world. In terms of ancient martial arts, he was just a beginner. He was far from being a master. Jiang Tian is a martial artist. What is a martial artist? Tang Linglong finished a set of fist techniques and sat down under the tree. She picked up the teacup and drained it in one gulp. In this world, there are always strange people who fly like dragons in the sky. One is a master of martial arts and the other is a master of martial arts. Elder Tang sighed. A master of martial arts can cast beams into soldiers, drive gods and ghosts, summon the wind and rain, and control thunder and lightning. Jiang Zia, Guhong, Chuanjin Qiu Chuji, and Celestial Master Zhang of Dragon Tiger Mountain all belong to this category. A martial artist can leap over walls and walk on water. He is invulnerable to swords and spears. He can condense qi into weapons and use it to attack others. Mod and Zhu Hai of the Warring States period, Li Jing of the Tang dynasty, Yu Fei and Yu Yun of the Southern Song dynasty, Chang Yuchen of the Ming dynasty, Chang Yuchen of the Ming dynasty, all belong to this category. Chapter 18. Manager Li, please give me a chance. When Zhao Xueqing heard this, she was so anxious that she almost burst into tears. Now her parents did not give her any support. Jiang Tian's head was sick and he needed a lot of money for treatment. If she lost her job, the two of them would starve. If you want me to give you a chance, that's fine. You know, Uncle has always loved you very much. Li Pengtao quickly walked behind Zhao Xueqing, put his hands on her shoulders and softly said, "But, how are you going to thank Uncle?" Feeling the two hands on her shoulders were like two sinister snakes, Zhao Xueqing was suddenly startled. She stood up and took a step back, said, "Manager Li, rest assured, I will work hard and research the prescription as soon as possible. I won't let you down." Work? Who can't do it? You need to do something that others can't do. Li Pengtao wretchedly smiled. Like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey, he threw Zhao Xueqing onto the sofa and pressed her under his body. "Manager Li, what are you doing?" Zhao Xueqing desperately struggled. She never thought that Li Pengtao would be such a beast. In broad daylight, he actually had such an evil intention. "What am I doing?" "Doing you." Li Pengtao completely revealed his true nature as a beast. Since the first time he saw Zhao Xueqing, he was fascinated by Zhao Xueqing. Today, he wanted to ruthlessly do this woman that he had admired for a long time. "You're already so old, but you still haven't fallen in love. You must be very thirsty, right? Uncle will satisfy you." The reason why Li Pengtao was so unscrupulous was because he knew that Zhao Huqing despised this daughter of his. It was also inseparable from Li Pengtao's support. Even if he did her, Zhao Huqing would not say anything. Who knows, she might even marry him. "Help." Zhao Xueqing opened her mouth and bit his wrist, tearing off a piece of flesh. Slap. The severe pain aroused Li Pengtao's ferocious nature. He raised his hand and slapped Zhao Xueqing's face, angrily said, "Scream. Shout with all your might. The more you scream, the more excited I get. This room is soundproof. Even if you scream yourself hoarse, no one will hear you." Zhao Xueqing was dizzy from the beating. She struggled with all her might, and tears of grievance rolled down her cheeks. "Am I going to be sullied by this beast today?" Just when Zhao Xueqing was at a loss for words, the door was kicked open with a bang. In the blurry tears, Zhao Xueqing first saw a pair of red eyes that seemed to be able to spit fire. Yes, Jiang Tian's eyes were red. In his previous life, his consciousness was hazy, and he did not realize that Li Pengtao had bad intentions towards Zhao Xueqing. God knows how much this poor girl had suffered and how much she had suffered. Wolves have poisonous thorns, those who peek at them will die. Dragons have reverse scales, those who touch them will die. Zhao Xueqing was his reverse scale. No one was allowed to touch it. Whoever touched it would die. This guy who was as fat as a pig actually had ideas about Zhao Xueqing. Wasn't he looking for death? "Jiang Tian, who let you in?" Li Pengtao pulled up his pants and angrily shouted at Jiang Tian. "You go to hell." Jiang Tian did not say anything. Like a gust of wind, he rushed over. Like a soccer ball, he kicked Li Pengtao's crotch. A woo! A mournful scream resounded throughout the restaurant. Jiang Tian's furious kick had a terrifying strength. Moreover, it was aimed at the most vulnerable part of the human body. Li Pengtao's family jewels immediately shattered. Blood flowed out like a stream. Like a pig being slaughtered, a scream uncontrollably gushed out from his throat. His chubby body bounced up like a rubber ball. Jiang Tian's foot had already landed on the ground. He turned around and kicked Li Pengtao's lower abdomen. Li Pengtao's body, which was at least 200 kilograms, flew out and heavily hit the glass tea table. With a crisp crack, the glass tea table shattered. Many glass shards pierced into his body. "Ah!" Li Pengtao once again let out a scream like a pig being slaughtered. However, Jiang Tian, who was burning with anger, did not intend to stop. He jumped up, fell straight down, and stepped between Li Pengtao's legs. With a bang, like the sound of an egg breaking, Li Pengtao subconsciously bent over in pain. Jiang Tian kicked his head. With a crack, Li Pengtao's nose was instantly broken. Blood spurted out. Large amounts of nosebleeds gushed out. Li Pengtao's voice became indistinct. He howled like a dog. Bang! Jiang Tian's foot directly shattered his knee. Then it was the other leg. After a while, Li Pengtao's 4 limbs were all broken. Even if Hua Tuo was alive, he would not be able to stand up. Jiang Tian's violent beating caused quite a stir. However, many people stood at the door and saw this scene. They did not dare to come in. Some called the emergency number, and some called the general manager, asking him to deal with it. You're already crippled. You'd rather die than live. Then go to hell. Jiang Tiangang gritted his teeth, his eyes spitting out cold flames. He grabbed his neck and lifted him up. His big hand swallowed and spat out energy, wanting to crush him to death. Jiang Tian, don't kill him. Seeing Li Pengtao's eyes bulging and his face turning purple, Zhao Xueqing was so scared that her face turned pale. She quickly held Jiang Tian's arm and begged. He deserves to die. Jiang Tian did not let go. Li Pengtao stuck out his tongue like a hanged ghost. It seemed that he was going to die. Zhao Xueqing was so anxious that she almost fainted. She tried to pry Jiang Tian's hand away and begged, Jiang Tian, you're crazy. You can't kill him. You'll go to jail. It's not worth it for this scum. Bastard. Go to hell. Jiang Tian's smile was exceptionally cruel. In just a few more seconds, Li Pengtao would go to another world. Jiang Tian, I beg you. Let go. Even if you don't think about me, you have to think about your parents. If you die and go to jail, what will happen to them? In a moment of desperation, Zhao Xueqing knelt on the ground. She hugged Jiang Tian's legs and started bawling. Zhao Xueqing's cries made Jiang Tian calm down. Yes, at least for now, he was unable to go against the country's violence department. He still had to abide by the laws of this world. If he went to jail, what would happen to his parents? Who would protect Xueqing and the Jiang family? But as Jiang Tian gently let go, Li Pengtao fell to the ground like a dead dog. Blood splattered everywhere. Xueqing, get up quickly. How can I kill someone? I'm just teaching him a lesson. Jiang Tian pulled Zhao Xueqing up and gently wiped away her tears. Not long later, the ambulance arrived. The medical staff carried Li Pengtao into the ambulance and sped away. Don't be afraid. It's fine. Let's go home. Jiang Tian pulled Zhao Xueqing and walked out. His eyes were filled with coldness. Only when one is drunk will the wine be strong. Only when one is in love will the feelings be strong. Jiang Tian finally came back. He wanted to spend an ordinary and blissful life with Zhao Xueqing. Who would have expected that in less than 2 days, someone would come to stir up trouble? Whoever stirred up trouble would go to hell. Chapter 19. After they left the restaurant, they took a cab home. Along the way, Zhao Xueqing panicked. She wanted to say something but stopped herself. Jiang Tian smiled and asked, "What's wrong? How can you hit him? Even if you want to hit him, you can't beat him up so badly. Li Pengtao will definitely not let this go." Zhao Xueqing was frustrated, angry, and regretful. She said, "Do you know that I will definitely lose my job if he reports this to Dad and Auntie? At that time, what will you eat and drink?" Actually, it wasn't just losing her job. If Li Pengtao really wanted to take this matter seriously, he would be sentenced to at least 10 years of imprisonment, life imprisonment, or death. Perhaps Jiang Tian was just defending himself. However, Li Pengtao knew many famous lawyers. If he used money to file a lawsuit, Jiang Tian would definitely lose. Although the Jiang family had some influence, that was in Jinling. This was Lingnan, a different province. The Jiang family's influence couldn't reach here. He molested you first, and he's still in the right? Does he have the face to report it? Jiang Tian said with disdain. Li Pengtao is good at disguising himself. He usually acts like an honest elder. Dad and Auntie have always disliked you. Will they believe you or Li Pengtao? Zhao Xueqing said bitterly. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Don't worry. Even if he wants to report it, I have a way to deal with him. What can you do? No matter how this matter turns out, don't fight in the future. Don't go crazy. Zhao Xueqing said angrily, Can you stop causing trouble for me? I'm already very tired from working overtime every day. My dear wife, don't be angry. I know that I'm wrong. If you're angry, you can slap me to vent your anger. Jiang Tian quickly smiled and moved his face closer to Zhao Xueqing to let her slap him. Aya, you're so annoying. You're still joking. Aren't you childish? Zhao Xueqing pulled his ear and pulled his face to the side, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. What Jiang Tian did just now was a little bloody, a little violent, and a little cruel, but in the end, he was protecting himself. Thinking that her husband finally understood how to protect her, she felt a burst of warmth and sweetness in her heart. But thinking of the way Jiang Tian beat people up, she felt a little worried. When they arrived at the Times mansion, Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing got out of the car. When they arrived at the entrance of the villa, they saw a girl. At this moment, Tang Linglong was like a high and mighty queen. She wore a luxurious red dress, crystal high heels, exquisite makeup, and expensive accessories. Even in a coastal city like Linzhou, she was still a queen who stood proudly above the clouds. Mr. Jiang, I have something to discuss with you. Even though she had waited for 3 hours and had several mosquito bites on her leg, Tang Linglong still walked up to Jiang Tian with a face full of joy the moment she saw him. Although she still had doubts about Jiang Tian's strength, Elder Tang had instructed her to treat Jiang Tian with utmost respect, so she had no choice but to obey. Zhao Xueqing's beautiful eyes widened. How did Jiang Tian know such an extraordinary beauty? Could it be that she was his former lover? Oh, what's the matter? Jiang Tian stopped and asked. Tomorrow is Saturday. You don't have to go to work, right? My grandfather wants to invite you to stay at my humble abode for 2 days. Tang Linglong tried to speak in a gentle tone. Sorry, I don't have time. Jiang Tian gently shook his head. He still wanted to spend more time with Zhao Xueqing and had no interest in getting to know Elder Tang. If he wanted power, with Jiang Tian's ability, he could reach the peak within a year. If he wanted wealth, he could accumulate a prosperous dynasty within a year. How difficult would that be? No fighting, no love, no climbing. Jiang Tian had lived for thousands of years and seen the vicissitudes of life. He had seen prosperity and loneliness. In this life, he only wanted to be with his beloved wife. Jiang Tian, what do you mean? Seeing that Jiang Tian was about to leave, Tang Linglong panicked and grabbed Jiang Tian's shoulder. It was a standard military boxing grappling move. The dignified Tang clan was a wealthy clan with power that could overturn the imperial court. In the vast Lingnan region, who didn't rely on the Tang family. And this kid didn't know how to appreciate favors. Tang Linglong had been spoiled since she was young. Her suitors were as numerous as the stars in the sky. She didn't expect to be rejected by Jiang Tian today. Bang! Jiang Tian's shoulder shook, as if the earth was shaking and the mountains were shaking. Tang Linglong was shaken and took a few steps back. Jiang Tian, my grandpa wants to get to know you. How can you do this? As a martial artist, the more profound his foundation is, the more he knows that there is always someone better than him. I'm not as arrogant and condescending as you are. You've really disappointed me. Tang Linglong's palm was in pain and her arm was numb. She felt wronged. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she shouted. If I've disappointed you, then don't look for me. I saved Elder Tang because he was once loyal to the country. Who knew that you'd be so unruly? Jiang Tian's arrogant voice came from afar. How dare you hit me? From now on, my fate with the Tang family is over. You and Elder Tang shouldn't look for me anymore. Mr. Jiang, I know I'm wrong. Please give me another chance. Seeing that Jiang Tian was about to use his trump card, Tang Linglong was so anxious that she actually knelt on the ground. According to Elder Tang, Jiang Tian was a dragon among men who could change the fate of the Tang family and continue the prosperity of the Tang family. Now, she had messed up everything. How could she not be anxious? Jiangdan, can't you be more gentlemanly? Look, you've made her cry. This is outrageous. Zhao Xueqing said coquettishly. The Tang family was one of the top families, while the Zhao family was only a third-rate family. Moreover, Tang Linglong was obsessed with martial arts. She was low-key and mysterious, so Zhao Xueqing did not know her. However, Zhao Xueqing was kind-hearted and gentle. Seeing Tang Linglong kneeling on the ground and crying so miserably, her heart softened. Jiang Tian scratched his head helplessly and explained weakly, "How am I not gentlemanly? She started it. I didn't want to hurt her. Ask her to get up and talk to her nicely." Zhao Xueqing poked Jiang Tian's arm. Jiang Tian walked over and said softly, "All right, get up. All right, get up, don't cry. There's something you need to take care of before I go see Elder Tang." "Please tell me, Mr. Jiang. I'll definitely do it." Tang Linglong quickly wiped her tears and stood up. Her pretty face was filled with excitement. It was as if a drowning person had encountered a life-saving straw. "I just injured someone. He's seriously injured and might be disabled. I wonder if you can help me take care of it?" Jiang Tian said. Tang Linglong was a little surprised after hearing Jiang Tian's story. Putting aside today's misunderstanding, Jiang Tian looked like a mature and steady person. However, he actually injured Li Pengtao. Was it because of her? Tang Linglong looked at Zhao Xueqing, who was standing at the door in the distance. A hint of envy flashed in her beautiful eyes. Chapter 20. Lin Zhou was huge, but the circle at the top was not. Li Pengtao was one of the top 20 managers in Lin Zhou, and he was a special talent brought in by the city government. "Don't worry, Mr. Jiang, I will take care of this for you." Tang Linglong took care of everything and left in a hurry. The next day, Zhao Xueqing learned about Li Pengtao's situation through the Tang family's extensive network. It was said that Li Pengtao was seriously injured and had one foot in the grave. Luckily, Li Pengtao had good connections and invited a surgeon from the provincial capital, Yangqing, to perform the surgery. That was how he was pulled back from the gates of hell. But his manhood was completely destroyed. Li Pengtao's wife and family were very emotional. They had already called the police and hired a top lawyer. They were determined to bring the culprit to justice. Lin Zhou's First People's Hospital, ICU. Li Pengtao was lying on the hospital bed with an oxygen mask on. He had not woken up since last night. "Hubby, don't worry, I will get justice for you." A rich lady in her 30s sat beside the bed. She was crying secretly and her heart ached. At this moment, the door opened and a middle-aged man in a suit walked in quickly. He then reported in a low voice. After hearing the report, the rich lady stood up with an incredulous expression and said sternly, "Lawyer Zhang, what did you say?" "Settle." Lawyer Zhang smiled and said, "Yes, it was the Tang family who called. They can hire Mr. Liu to work as an industry consultant for the Tang family's third master's company. I think that no smart person would reject this offer." "Lawyer Liu, your butt is crooked. Look at how badly old Liu was beaten up. He has 8 broken ribs and—" The rich lady was furious. She pointed at Li Pengtao and waved her arms and screamed, "My happiness for the rest of my life is over." "Mrs. Li, after the police's initial questioning, Mr. Liu is suspected of sexually harassing Zhao Xueqing. I know that Zhao Xueqing does not have a high position in Zhao Pharmaceuticals, but she is still the boss's daughter." Lawyer Zhang spoke tirelessly, trying to coax and scare him. A professional manager who intends to sexually assault his boss's daughter. I think if this news gets out, no one will hire Mr. Liu. His career will be over. But with old Liu like this, isn't he making me a living widow? Madame Li gradually calmed down, her heart filled with sorrow. "Mrs. Li is so beautiful, do you still lack men? If he can't, you'll be happier." Seeing Mrs. Li's white breasts, Lawyer Zhang suddenly felt his mouth go dry. He felt that as an excellent lawyer, he had the responsibility to comfort his employer. He gently stretched out his arms, hugged Mrs. Li's slender waist, and whispered in her ear, "Aren't there many good men?" "Oh, not here. The door isn't locked." Her buttocks were covered by that powerful big hand. Mrs. Li pouted coquettishly, her heart thumping. Old Li liked to play with female university students. When he went home at night, he would always complain that he was tired. He would never hand in his rations. It had been a long time since she had come into contact with a man. On Jiang Tian's side, Li Pengtao and the police did not make any moves the next day. Presumably, the problem had been solved. As for how it was solved, he had no interest in knowing. For a big family like the Tang family, there were too many bargaining chips to be used. However, Li Pengtao's incident also taught Jiang Tian a lesson. According to Tang Linglong, Li Pengtao had hired a famous lawyer, and the police had completed their investigation and evidence collection. They were just waiting to arrest Li Pengtao. At that time, Jiang Tian saw Li Pengtao's evil intentions and lost control on the spot. He wanted nothing more than to tear Li Pengtao into pieces. Now that he thought about it, if he had only saved Zhao Xueqing, wandered around outside, left a sufficient alibi, and then killed Li Pengtao without anyone knowing, there wouldn't be such trouble. Jiang Tian felt very uncomfortable. When he was roaming the universe, he had been to many planets and seen many civilizations. Some planets were full of order, but the strong were respected. There was no limit to killing, and the fist was the absolute truth. It was still the mainstream. Now, he felt like a primitive man who had returned to modern society. There were restrictions and restrictions everywhere. Xueqing, why haven't you woken up yet? After hanging up the phone, Jiang Tian realized that Zhao Xueqing hadn't woken up. He knocked on the door, but there was no sound from inside. Jiang Tian was a little anxious. He opened the door and saw Zhao Xueqing lying on the bed. Her face was red and her brows were tightly knitted. Jiang Tian didn't even need to take her pulse. He opened his third eye and scanned her. He realized that Zhao Xueqing had a cold and fever. It was probably because she was frightened last night and worried. In addition, her body was weak to begin with, so she fell sick. Moreover, Jiang Tian also realized that Zhao Xueqing had been working hard and was depressed. There were many toxins in her body and she was in a sub-healthy state. Looks like I have to concoct a pill as soon as possible and give it to Xueqing to recuperate. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a hint of certainty. First, he found a box of cold medicine and fed it to Zhao Xueqing. Then, he helped her up and channeled some true yuan into her back to nourish her. After her fever subsided, Jiang Tian hurried to the kitchen and cooked a pot of porridge. Zhao Xueqing was a little more awake. Jiang Tian said embarrassedly, "Xueqing, can you lend me some money?" "Are you kidding me? As long as we're together, my money is yours. Go and get it." Zhao Xueqing smiled and pointed at her bag weakly. Jiang Tian took out 2,000 yuan from his bag and said, "I'll get a bowl of porridge for you." After a while, Jiang Tian brought a bowl of steaming red date and wolfberry porridge. Zhao Xueqing put a pillow under herself and reached out to take it. "Hey, you're sick? Don't move, I'll feed you." Jiang Tian scooped a spoonful and blew on it. Then, he tested the temperature with his lips. "I can eat it myself. It's just a small cold." Zhao Xueqing felt that Jiang Tian was making a mountain out of a molehill and her face turned red. "Be good. Open your mouth." Zhao Xueqing no longer insisted. Like a child, she obediently opened her mouth. Jiang Tian fed her a spoonful and asked, "Is it good?" Zhao Xueqing nodded her head. There was a bit of brown sugar in the porridge. It was sweet and had the sweet taste of red date and wolfberry. "I didn't expect your culinary skills to be so good." Zhao Xueqing ate a few mouthfuls. Her stomach felt much better and her body felt warm. She felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction and happiness. Jiang Tian didn't say anything. He took out a tissue and wiped the rice from the corner of her mouth and continued to feed her. "So, when he's gentle, I don't hate him at all." She looked at Jiang Tian who was close by and a trace of sweetness appeared in her heart. Slender eyebrows, long eyelashes and a handsome nose. Other than his slightly pale face, Jiang Tian was definitely a handsome guy. After a while, Jiang Tian finished feeding her a bowl of porridge. "Xueqing, sleep for a while. I'll go buy some medicine. I'll be back before noon." "Okay, come back early. Don't run around." Zhao Xueqing lay down and turned to her side. 2 streams of tears rolled down her face. He didn't have a relapse for 2 days. He was gentle to her and even knew how to take care of others. Was he all right? If only he was always this good, Zhao Xueqing grabbed a rabbit doll by the ear and hugged it in her arms. Then, she fell asleep in a daze. Morning, 10 a.m. Jiang Tian came to a pharmacy and bought some herbs such as ginseng, angelica, deer antler, gold coin moss, and so on. There weren't many herbs, but they were extremely expensive. After spending more than 2,000 yuan, he didn't have much left. These herbs couldn't even be considered half a spiritual herb. They barely met Jiang Tian's requirements and could be used to refine a few small revitalizing pills. After packing the herbs, Jiang Tian suddenly heard a greeting. Jiang Tian, why are you here to get the herbs? Oh, Yuan, it's you. Jiang Tian turned around and was slightly stunned. Then he smiled. This was a beautiful, tall, and fashionably dressed girl. She wore Gucci high heels and carried a Prada crocodile leather handbag. Her exquisite makeup made her look even more radiant. Yuan, Jiang Tian's university classmate. She was also the prettiest girl in Jiang Tian's class. Her suitors were as numerous as carps crossing the river. During university, Jiang Tian was a playboy. He wanted to hit on pretty girls whenever he saw one. He even pursued Yuan for a period of time. However, Yuan's standards were high. She didn't even like Jiang Tian, who was expelled from the Jiang family. Instead, she was with a rich second-generation classmate in Linzhou City. Jiang Tian, where are you now? I thought you stayed in Jinling. Yuan looked at Jiang Tian with a complicated expression. Jiang Tian was dressed shabbily. His shirt and trousers weren't of good quality. His shoes were also covered in dust. It seemed like he wasn't doing well. Oh, I'm in a small company. I'm in public relations. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and turned around to leave. Let's exchange numbers. There's a class reunion in a few days. A few of my classmates in Linzhou City will be there. Yuan curled her lips and a trace of disdain flashed through the corner of her eyes. She was glad that she made the choice back then. Jiang Tian was still an ordinary white-collar worker. Looking at his clothes, he looked like a poor man. He probably couldn't even afford a house. Fortunately, she had a good eye and followed Ho Tian. Now, his net worth was over tens of millions. How could someone like Jiang Tian compare to him? Chapter 21. I don't have a phone. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly. I won't be joining the class reunion. Lu Yiting will be there too. Yuan said. She's pretty nice to you. Don't you want to meet her? Lu Yiting. Jiang Tian was stunned when the name was mentioned. He felt a surge of warmth in his heart. Lu Yiting was the class monitor of the university. She had always taken good care of Jiang Tian when they were in university. There was once when Jiang Tian cheated in an exam and the university wanted to punish him. It was Lu Yiting who begged the dean to let Jiang Tian off the hook. In his previous life, Lu Yiting was very talented in business management. After graduation, she opened a beauty salon and earned millions in just a few years. She could be said to be a strong woman. When the Jiang family was about to collapse, Jiang Tian wanted to use his connections to get his father out. He went around borrowing money but was rejected by many people. Only Lu Yiting lent him 3 million. However, the 3 million was wasted in the end. Lu Yiting's beauty salon closed down because of the lack of funds. However, Lu Yiting did not ask for Jiang Tian's help until he committed suicide. I'll go. I'll give you my company's phone number. You can contact me. Jiang Tian spat out a string of numbers. Yuan took out the latest iPhone and wrote it down. Then, she handed over a gold-stamped business card. My business card. General Manager of Supreme Building Materials. Jiang Tian glanced at it but did not respond. He turned around and left. If you're so useless. You can't even afford a phone. You're still so arrogant. Yuan snorted with disdain. However, she was too lazy to think about Jiang Tian. She walked quickly to the counter. Give me the most expensive and best herbs you have. Ho Tianlai told his brother Zhou Zhenghao that he was looking for rare herbs and wanted to curry favor with someone important. She and Ho Tianlai were now shopping separately. On the way, Jiang Tian bought some ingredients and cooked lunch. He fed it to Zhao Xueqing and ate a few mouthfuls. Then, he started to make the small revitalizing pill. She closed the kitchen door and shut herself out of the world. In terms of alchemy, Jiang Tian could be said to be an almighty figure. He had already reached a higher level and was famous in the immortal cultivation world. When he was in the Saint Origin world, he had successfully killed 3 Golden Core experts of the Taihao sect when he was only at the Foundation establishment stage. He had relied on constantly swallowing pills during the battle to convert them into true yuan and temporarily increase his cultivation base. After that battle, Jiang Tian's name shook half of the Saint Origin world. He was known as the Little Prince of Drugs. Originally, Jiang Tian had more than 10 medicinal cauldrons with different functions, but in the process of his rebirth, they were all destroyed and lost. Jiang Tian could only use ordinary natural gas stoves and iron pots to refine them. Who would have thought that I, the Grand Primordium Heavenly Lord, would actually fall to such a state? Jiang Tian smiled bitterly and shook his head. He turned the switch and ignited the fire. It was Jiang Tian's first time refining pills under such simple conditions. He wasn't 100% confident, so he divided all the ingredients into 4 portions. Even if he failed the first 3 times, he might still be able to refine a minor revitalizing pill. The minor revitalizing pill was a simplified version of the 9 transformations Great Revitalizing Pill. After consumption, it could expel impurities from the body, strengthen the meridians, and replenish the blood essence. It could strengthen the body and extend one's lifespan. In fact, the minor revitalizing pill refined from these ingredients could only be considered a simplified version compared to the one in the immortal cultivation world. Its effects would also be greatly reduced. It might not be able to extend one's lifespan, but it would definitely strengthen the body. With his left hand, he carefully turned the switch on the gas stove, controlling the size of the flame and the temperature in the country. With his right hand, he threw the ingredients into the iron pot. Alchemy was the process of extracting the spirit qi from spirit herbs and other plants using flames and heat. The medicinal effects would then be strengthened by neutralizing each other. It had extremely high requirements for the temperature. It was very delicate and didn't allow for the slightest mistake. In the immortal cultivation world, alchemists were the most respected profession. There was a saying, "Immortal supremes are easy to find, but alchemists are hard to find." Alchemists with superb skills were the treasures of countless families, sects, and empires. The spirit qi was like a mist, and the fragrance of herbs assailed the nostrils. In the iron pot, streaks of spirit liquids of various colors gradually appeared. However, just as the spirit liquids were about to be neutralized and condensed into a pill, there was a sudden explosion. Smoke and dust billowed. The iron pot shattered, and the spirit liquids of plants scattered in all directions. Jiang Tian was covered in dirt from the explosion. His face was covered in ashes, and he was in a sorry state. Fuck, what a waste of my 500 yuan. Jiang Tian's heart ached. Even though he was very careful, the first pot of spirit pills still ended in failure. "Jiangdan, are you all right?" Outside the door, there was a series of footsteps. Zhao Xueqing kept knocking on the door. Her voice was anxious. "I'm fine." Jiang Tian opened the water pipe and wiped his face. Then he quickly opened the door. Its fragrance was refreshing. Not bad. Although it can't be compared to the pills I refined at my peak, it's already very lucky to be able to refine such a pill on Earth, where spiritual qi is so scarce. Jiang Tian was overjoyed. He took out a porcelain bottle that he had prepared in advance and put the pill into it. Then, step by step, Jiang Tian refined 2 more pills and put them into the porcelain bottle. In the evening, Jiang Tian made dinner and ate with Zhao Xueqing. Zhao Xueqing's spirit was better. She remembered what happened last night. She frowned and said, "Jiang Tian, is Lu Pengtao okay? Did he cause trouble for you?" "He's fine. He won't appear in the company. You don't have to be afraid in the future." Jiang Tian smiled. "How did you do it?" Zhao Xueqing was puzzled. "Don't worry, I have my own way." Zhao Xueqing's expression was still a little doubtful and worried. Why don't you believe me? If he wanted to cause trouble, he wouldn't have waited until now. He would have done it in the morning. But you're not allowed to hit people next time. It's too scary. Zhao Xueqing nodded. She seemed to believe him. Do you think it's scary when I hit people? Jiang Tian asked. I know you did it to protect me. I'm very touched, but... At this point, Zhao Xueqing hesitated for a moment. Then, she lowered her head slightly and said, But you also hit me before. Jiang Tian's heart was filled with regret and regret. His nose was sore as he said bitterly, Xueqing, I was wrong before. I was muddle-headed. In the future, I will never touch you again. I will protect you for the rest of your life. Should I believe you? Zhao Xueqing lowered her head and said softly. Jiang Tian had also made a vow before. But in the end, what happened was what happened. She was completely disappointed. Slap. Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped himself hard on the face. Hubby, don't be like this. You scared me to death. I believe you, okay? Does it hurt you? Zhao Xueqing reached out and caressed Jiang Tian's red cheeks. Sparkling tears rolled down her face. Don't cry. I won't scare you anymore. Jiang Tian said with a smile. When Zhao Xueqing gradually calmed down, Jiang Tian suddenly said, My dear wife, although you're a top student, I'll give you a question. You definitely won't be able to answer it. Ask away. Zhao Xueqing proudly raised her chin and rolled her eyes at Jiang Tian. Ask you, why did Chang Yi bring a rabbit with her when she was flying to the moon? Jiang Tian said with a mischievous smile. Because she was lonely and wanted a companion. No. Because she likes rabbits? Zhao Xueqing guessed 5 or 6 answers in a row. Jiang Tian shook his head. Then why? Tell me. Zhao Xueqing surrendered. Because only by bringing a rabbit can she bring a carrot with her. Jiang Tian said coquettishly. Why did she bring a carrot? Zhao Xueqing opened her big watery eyes with a dazed expression. Chapter 22. Cough, cough, because Jiang Tian leaned over to Zhao Xueqing's ear and whispered something. Aya, hubby, you're so naughty. How could you say something like that to me? Zhao Xueqing blushed and waved her fist coquettishly. She lowered Jiang Tian's arm and said, Give me another one. The meal was filled with chatter and laughter. It was a heartwarming meal. Jiang Tian could feel that Zhao Xueqing's wariness and fear towards him were slowly fading. Everything was going in a good direction. After the meal, Jiang Tian poured out a pill from the porcelain bottle and smiled. Xueqing, I've refined a small revitalizing pill for you. It has the effect of consolidating your foundation and strengthening your body. Hurry up and eat it. Oh, I know. I'll eat it before I sleep. Zhao Xueqing took it and smiled. She didn't believe that Jiang Tian could refine any miraculous pills. She only thought that Jiang Tian was fooling around. She was afraid that she would have diarrhea after eating it. But there was no need to expose Jiang Tian. It was fine as long as he was safe. Back in the bedroom, Zhao Xueqing put the small revitalizing pill into a small medicine bottle. She sat in front of the desk and began to work. I can see Elder Tang today. The next morning, Jiang Tian used Zhao Xueqing's phone to call Tang Linglong. Elder Tang wanted to see him time and time again. It would be unreasonable if he didn't give him face. Okay, I'll go pick you up now. Tang Linglong didn't delay. She immediately drove to the Times mansion to pick up Jiang Tian. The car stopped in front of Crouching Dragon Villa. Jiang Tian looked at the luxurious manor and chuckled. Elder Tang really knows how to enjoy life. Tang Linglong quickly explained, Mr. Jiang, please don't misunderstand. This is not my grandfather's business, but my third uncle's. She said hesitantly, Originally, my grandfather didn't want to live here, but he couldn't stand his incessant begging. Oh, I see. Jiang Tian nodded slightly and walked into the villa. Jiang Tian had also heard of the Tang family's background. Elder Tang had a total of 3 sons. The eldest son was in the military and held a position in the Lingnan military region. His background was very mysterious and he was the mainstay of the second generation of the Tang family. The second son, Tang Weimin, was the secretary of the Linzhou Municipal Party Committee. His political achievements were brilliant, and he had won the hearts of the people. His future was bright, and many people guessed that he could go further. The third son of the Tang family, Tang Wanyan, was the most useless one. He couldn't stand the shackles of the army and didn't want to work hard in the officialdom, so he used the name of Elder Tang to swindle people in the business world. Although Elder Tang didn't like him and blamed him a lot and even wanted to cut ties with him, his son had grown up and had no choice. Relying on the care of Elder Tang's old comrades, Tang Wanyan's business was doing very well. He had accumulated quite a lot of property and had a net worth of billions. This grand crouching dragon villa was Tang Wanyan's property. The manor was very beautiful. The rockery and strange rocks were arranged in a picturesque manner. There was a lake with lotus leaves swaying in the wind. There were 9 winding corridors and pavilions dotted among them. The trees were so big that one person could wrap their arms around them. This is strange. However, the more Jiang Tian looked, the more he frowned. A trace of seriousness appeared on his face. "Mr. Jiang, benefactor, you're finally here." From afar, Elder Tang, Xiao Wei, and a middle-aged man came to greet him. They bowed deeply with deep respect on their faces. However, the middle-aged man behind him had a frivolous look on his face. He chewed on his cigarette frivolously without the slightest hint of gratitude. "Elder Tang, how have you been these days?" Jiang Tian held him up and politely saluted him. Cough, cough. Elder Tang coughed violently a few times and smiled. "I still feel chills occasionally, but I'm much better now." Jiang Tian nodded slightly and activated his heavenly eye technique. He scanned Elder Tang's body and his face turned slightly cold. "Thank you for saving this old man's life. Elder Tang held Jiang Tian's hand and walked towards a hall. He was full of joy. "Elder Tang, you're welcome." "It's nothing." Jiang Tian quickly interrupted and walked into the hall with Elder Tang. After they were seated, the servants served tea. Elder Tang and Jiang Tian drank a few mouthfuls of tea and exchanged a few pleasantries. Elder Tang said, "Mr. Jiang, you're a martial arts grandmaster at such a young age. Your medical skills are amazing, and you're also proficient in the art of sorcery. This old man is truly impressed." "Martial arts grandmaster and sorcery expert? Elder Tang, you think too highly of me." "I'm really not." Jiang Tian shook his head gently. Mr. Jiang, you're too polite." Elder Tang only thought that Jiang Tian was being modest and laughed. "Elder Tang, what's going on with martial arts and sorcery? Please enlighten me." Jiang Tian frowned. "Mr. Jiang, I really don't know." Elder Tang was stunned. Seeing that Jiang Tian did not seem to be lying, he thought that Jiang Tian should have a unique cultivation system that was different from martial arts and sorcery. Therefore, he began to talk about it. Although Elder Tang was not a martial arts or sorcery expert, he was still involved in martial arts and the military, so he knew a lot of information. According to him, ancient martial arts and sorcery rose in the pre-Qin period and had a long history. Ancient martial arts were derived from Daoism and were eventually simplified and condensed by martial artists into killing techniques. In this process, it was divided into 2 branches, which focused on strengthening one's ancient martial arts and sorcery that focused on using external objects. Ancient martial arts were divided into 4 stages: iron body, internal force, transcendent, and divine realm. As the saying went, the poor studied while the rich studied martial arts. A martial artist's cultivation required the nourishment of heavenly and earthly treasures, which also meant that they needed a lot of worldly wealth. Therefore, there were many powerful martial artists hidden in the mortal world. Sorcery was even more mysterious and was rarely seen in the mortal world. Most of them lived in seclusion in the mountains and ponds, absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and comprehending the supreme Tao. They were generally divided into 4 stages: perception, Tao initiation, mystic enlightening, and Tao body. Most of the martial arts in the mortal world were simplified versions of ancient martial arts. Usually, one would be unable to advance after reaching the iron body stage. For example, Tan to Eagle Claw, Ba Ji, and Wing Chun were all in this category. In the 4 stages of martial arts, each stage was divided into 4 stages: minor success, major success, perfection, and pinnacle. There were very few who could reach internal force. Elder Tang had cultivated for his entire life, but he had only reached the perfection iron body stage and had not reached internal force. In the entire Lingnan province, there were only a few people who had reached that stage. So that's how it is. Jiang Tian nodded his head in satisfaction. He also had a hint of understanding in his heart. In his previous life, the 3 major families of Jinlin City were no match for the Jiang family in terms of political and business resources. However, the sudden rise of the 3 major families and their joint attack on the Jiang family meant that there was a martial artist behind them. After the introduction, Elder Tang pointed at the middle-aged man and said, "This is my useless second son, Tang Wanyan. You can call him Little Nian. This small manor is also his property. If Mr. Jiang has any friends that you would like to entertain, feel free to look for him." "Dad, so this is the Master Kong you were talking about? He is just a kid. I don't see anything special about him." Tang Wanyan puffed on the cigarette in his mouth as he shook his head and said, Tang Wanyan was dressed in branded clothes and was armed to the teeth. However, his eyes were swollen and his footsteps were weak. It was obvious that his body had been hollowed out by alcohol and women. Jiang Tian shook his head. No wonder Xiao Wei and Tang Linglong hesitated when they talked about him. He was nothing compared to Elder Tang. Even though Elder Tang's body had been invaded by Ghost Qi and he had been bedridden for many years, he was still very stern, as expected of someone who had been on the battlefield for decades. "How dare you!" Elder Tang was so angry that his face turned red. He slammed the table and scolded, "Mr. Jiang is my guest. How dare you!" He quickly stood up and bowed to Jiang Tian. He said nervously, "Mr. Jiang, please forgive my son. This old man did not teach him well." "Don't worry about it." Jiang Tian waved his hand casually. Who would have thought that at this moment, Tang Wanyan's untimely voice rang out again. "Dad, what's so great about him? You are still coughing and feeling cold. What exorcism and ghost exorcism? I think it's just a sham. Bastard! Get out! Get out of here!" Elder Tang pointed at the door angrily and roared. This youngest son of his was fond of taking unconventional paths and making countless enemies. This made him worry the most, so old Tang hoped that he could introduce Jiang Tian to him. That way, Tang Wanyan would have a strong backer who could at least protect his life. However, he did not expect Tang Wanyan to be such a loser. Even though he had repeatedly told him to be respectful to Jiang Tian, he still offended Jiang Tian again and again. "You guys talk. I will go to the kitchen and prepare some food for you." Tang Wanyan stood up and looked coldly at Jiang Tian. "Third master, please wait." Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian spoke up to persuade him to stay. "Third master is right. I did not completely cure Elder Tang. Right? I told you he is a liar." Tang Wanyan's interest was piqued again. He sat down leisurely, crossed his legs, and sneered. Elder Tang was also confused. He frowned. "Mr. Jiang, I feel much better. Why do you say that?" Jiang Tian took a sip of tea and said, "The spirit in your body has been removed. However, there is still a ferocious spirit in Crouching Dragon Villa. This ferocious spirit's yin qi is very strong and its cultivation is very high. It has already become a ghost king. The spirit was just being controlled by it. Because Elder Tang is old and weak, it took advantage of the situation. It is true that I have removed the spirit. However, I did not remove the ghost king. That is the same as not removing the firewood from under the cauldron. Of course, it cannot be considered a complete cure. Elder Tang, have you been experiencing the symptoms of alternating between cold and heat?" "Nonsense." Before Elder Tang could speak, Tang Wanyan said disdainfully, "Ghosts and gods are completely fabricated. How much do you want to swindle from the Tang family? Do you believe that I will call the police to arrest you and sentence you to 8 to 10 years? Elder Tang, You and I are fated to meet. Moreover, Ling Long has helped me before. I am willing to kill the Ghost King for you." Jiang Tian was too lazy to pay attention to him. He said indifferently, "However, this matter started because of Tang Wanyin. He has done something wrong. I want him to donate 100 million as charity. Otherwise, I will not help him." "What did he do?" Elder Tang's face turned solemn as he frowned and asked. Jiang Tian hesitated for a moment, but before he could speak, Tang Wanyin stood up and waved his arms. He said furiously, "Dad, don't believe him. What bullshit master. He was just spouting nonsense and swindling people. Jiang, get the hell out of here." "Wanyin, are you trying to piss me off? What the hell are you talking about? Third uncle, Master Kong, is our VIP. How can you be so disrespectful?" Elder Tang was furious. Tang Linglong kept trying to dissuade him. Xiao Wei also shook his head and sighed. "Dad, who does this kid think he is? He is not even fully grown yet. How can he pretend to be an extraordinary person?" Tang Wanyin did not listen to him. Chapter 23. Tang Wanyin said angrily, "He beat up Li Pengtao and asked me to give him 1 million a year salary before you were cured. Li Pengtao was basically a cripple right now, okay? He will need at least 20 million when he retires. This time, he asked me to donate 100 million. He is robbing me." Tang Wanyin pointed at the door and said arrogantly, "Jiangdan, I have made myself clear. Get out of here." Hearing this, a cold light flashed in Jiang Tian's eyes. There was also some anger. He stood up and said, "I did ask the Tang family to help me, which is equivalent to asking you to spend 10 million. But what I want to give to the Tang family is not something that can be bought with 10 million. What are you going to give to the Tang family? Is it worth 10 million? Tang Wanyin was taken aback. He then laughed disdainfully. Jiang Tian ignored him and stood with his hands behind his back. "Huh, Elder Tang and I are kindred spirits. I wanted to give the Tang family an opportunity to help you get out of this predicament. But you don't know how to cherish it. So be it. Master Kong, please don't be angry. It's all my fault. I didn't teach them well. Please don't go." Elder Tang stood up shakily and pulled Jiang Tian's sleeve, begging. "Elder Tang, this is a body-tempering cultivation technique. Consider it as me, Jiang Tian, repaying the Tang clan for their help." Jiang Tian threw down a handwritten scroll on the tea table and said calmly, "I'm sorry. But from now on, the Tang family and I don't owe each other anything. Tang Wanyin, don't blame me for being rude if you keep talking nonsense." Tang Wanyin wanted to retort, but Elder Tang hit him with his walking stick. He could only keep his mouth shut. In a month, the Crouching Dragon Villa will be filled with ghosts and murders. If you don't want to cause trouble, close the door as soon as possible. After saying that, Jiang Tian flung his sleeves and quickly walked out of the Crouching Dragon Villa. With the help of Tang Linglong, Elder Tang quickly chased after Jiang Tian, but Jiang Tian had already disappeared. Back in the hall, Elder Tang was so angry that his whole body was trembling. He pointed at Tang Wanyin and said, "Tang Wanyin, you bastard! You have eyes but can't see. You can't see the real person's face. You want to destroy the Tang family." At this time, Jiang Tian and Tang Wanyin were like fire and water. His painstaking efforts to rope him in had been completely wasted, and he had suffered a double loss. "Dad, you're really muddle-headed. He's so young. What kind of ability can he have? You've been fooled by him." Tang Wanyin picked up the scroll left behind by Jiang Tian and was about to tear it into pieces. "What kind of rubbish is this? What do you want?" However, Elder Tang snatched it over and unfolded it to take a look. There were a few large words written on the title page: "Overwhelming Body Tempering Technique." Elder Tang carefully flipped through it, but his body suddenly trembled. His face was filled with shock, and he clapped his hands in admiration. This cultivation technique is many times more mystical than our Tang family's cultivation technique. It's even more powerful than the average ancient martial arts. Tang Linglong's cultivation technique belonged to the category of traditional Chinese martial arts. However, Elder Tang was a master of the southern school of Chinese martial arts. He had combined Wing Chun, Hong Quan, and Kai Li Buddhist fist into one. However, the cultivation technique that Jiang Tian gave him was derived from the cultivation technique of the Iron Fist sect of the cultivation world and had been modified. The Iron Fist sect might not be the best in the cultivation world, but when it came to the body tempering technique, it was unique and unique. It was many times more powerful than the average ancient martial arts. Grandpa, is it really that powerful? Tang Linglong asked curiously. Tang Wanyan curled his lips in disdain. This set of cultivation techniques can help you reach the iron body level and even generate internal force. You can crush a transcendent master. Elder Tang said solemnly. Then I'll hurry up and practice. Tang Linglong said excitedly. Elder Tang sighed and said with regret and helplessness, Unfortunately, your third uncle is an unfilial son. He actually had eyes but failed to see and repeatedly humiliated Grandmaster Jiang, causing him to leave in a huff. Otherwise, with such a figure as the grand guest of our Tang clan, the Tang clan would definitely be able to stand tall for 100 years without falling. On Monday, Zhao Xueqing was summoned to the chairwoman, Wei Fong, as soon as she arrived at work. Although Wei Fong was a middle-aged woman, one could tell from the corner of her eyes that she must have been a great beauty when she was young. She had taken good care of herself and was dressed fashionably. She wore a black Prada suit and black high heels. Her hair was tied up in a high ponytail. She looked like a smart and capable woman. Wei Fong used to be a host at Linzhou TV station. 10 years ago, she went into business. In 10 short years, she had turned a small pharmacy into a large pharmaceutical company. Auntie, Zhao Xueqing said weakly. Although she had a good relationship with Zhao Qianru, Zhao Xueqing had always been a little afraid of her strong-handed stepmother. I heard that Jiang Tian beat up Li Pengtao? That's too ruthless. Wei Fong said with a frown. Auntie, you can't blame Jiang Tian for this. Zhao Xueqing hesitated. Li Pengtao was the one who molested me first. Jiang Tian happened to see it, so he beat him up. Even if Li Pengtao is dishonest, there are still laws. Your father and I will stand up for you. Wei Fong took a sip of the fragrant Blue Mountain coffee and said with disgust, But what's wrong with him beating someone up like that? Is this something a normal person would do? Is Manager Li going to pursue Jiang Tian's legal responsibility? Zhao Xueqing's heart skipped a beat as she was secretly worried. Not really. President Li is still very magnanimous. However, he has resigned and no longer works in our company. Wei Fong's tone was light, but she was also very suspicious. She couldn't understand why Li Pengtao and his wife let Jiang Tian off so easily. Was it because they were afraid of embarrassing themselves? Oh. Zhao Xueqing let out a long sigh. Her hanging heart finally fell to the ground. However, Qingya, do you really plan to continue living with Jiang Tian like this? This person is ignorant and incompetent, and he is also willful. The key is that he even abused his family. This is a real scumbag. Wei Fong was like a loving mother as she gently advised, You are a flower of Linzhou. You have both talent and beauty. There are so many outstanding young men who admire you and pursue you. Why do you want to hang yourself on a crooked tree? Auntie! Zhao Xueqing screamed and interrupted Wei Fong's words. Her face was red as she lowered her head and said, Auntie, I know you are saying this for my own good. But no matter how big a mistake a person makes, as long as he is willing to start over, shouldn't we give him a chance? Jiang Tian, he seems to be showing signs of improvement. You are just too kind and innocent. For a woman, marriage is no less than a second birth. Wei Fong shook her head and sighed. His brain is permanently damaged. How can it be cured? How can it get better? He was so crazy and beat people until they were crippled. If old Li pursued the matter, he would already be in the police station. After all, he did it to protect me. Zhao Xueqing said. Sai, back then I was just like you. I also insisted on marrying your father for love. Your father even brought you along. Wei Fang's eyes flashed with gentleness as if she was thinking of the distant past. She sighed softly. Back then, my family was very pessimistic about the future of your father and I. That's why I worked so hard to prove myself to my family. But in the end, it was just a mere 100 million in assets. My family still doesn't think highly of your father. She smiled bitterly and said, Xueqing, let me remind you. Sometimes, choice is more important than hard work. You must choose the right person. Auntie, I understand. Zhao Xueqing nodded, but she didn't seem to have any intention of changing her mind. Wei Fang knew that her persuasion didn't work, but she wasn't in a hurry. She smiled and said, Right, tomorrow night, Lu Wangfeng from the Lu family wants to talk to me about cooperation, but I'm too busy. You go in my place. Auntie, can you find someone else? Zhao Xueqing was in a difficult position. Lu Wangfeng was one of the top young masters in Linzhou City. His status was only second to Tang Jianfeng from the Tang family, Long Gaiyan from the Long family, and a few other top young masters. The Lu family's Ren AI Medical Materials trading group was one of the top 10 in the country. Its assets were worth billions. Lu Wangfeng had pursued her many times, but she didn't like his personality and rejected him politely. Xueqing, the development of the muscle-nourishing cream that you're in charge of has been stagnant. The board of directors has long wanted to remove you from your position. Jiang Tian beat someone up, so you should be fired. If you don't make any achievements, how can I protect you? Wei Fang crossed her arms and said with a frown. Okay, I'll go. Zhao Xueqing's body trembled. She had no choice but to agree. She felt bitter in her heart. She didn't have any savings. If she and Jiang Tian were to lose their jobs, they would have to go hungry. That afternoon, Jiang Tian received a call from his university classmate, Yuan. They were going to have a class reunion at the Imperial Club. It seems that I'm fated with the Imperial Club. Jiang Tian thought to himself. He picked up the phone and told Zhao Xueqing about it before leaving the office in a hurry. Jiang Tian had spent all the money he got from Zhao Xueqing over the weekend. He could only walk there. His classmates had already arrived at a private room. Jiang Tian arrived a little late. The 9-5 VIP private room was very luxurious and expensive. The private room alone cost 50,000 yuan. In 2007, it was equivalent to half a year's salary for an ordinary white-collar worker. Ho Tianlai, the organizer of the reunion, was sitting in the middle, bragging to his classmates about his entrepreneurial history. Yuan was playing with the diamond ring on her finger. She looked very proud. It's not easy these years. Ho Tianlai heaved a long sigh. But he couldn't hide the pride in his eyes. President Ho, you should be content. That's right. You have a mansion, a nice car, a beautiful girlfriend. You have everything. We are so jealous. His classmates were flattering him. Lu Yiting and a few female classmates were chatting in a corner. Oh, look who's here. It's our master Jiang. Ho Tianlai saw Jiang Tian come in and said in a sarcastic tone. Everyone looked at him. He was wearing a shabby shirt of poor quality, black trousers, and dirty old leather shoes. At first glance, he looked like a migrant worker. Jiang Tian. It's really Jiang Tian. Oh my God, Master Jiang used to be a big shot. How did he end up like this? Many people were sighing in admiration, and some of them were mocking him. Jiang Tian used to be a big shot at the University of Jin City. Most of his old classmates were unhappy with him. Now that he was down, they naturally hit him when he was down. Lu Yiting also looked at Jiang Tian, dumbfounded. That young man, he was here. But he didn't have the heroic spirit that he used to have. Instead, he was gloomy. What had he gone through in the past few years? Why did he look so calm? Chapter 24. Jiang Tian walked over slowly and said with a smile, Sorry, I didn't take a taxi, so I'm a bit late. You're not late at all. Ho Tianlai seemed to be very enthusiastic as he pulled Jiang Tian to sit down. He said in surprise, You walked here? Jiang Tian nodded silently and looked at the pairs of eyes. Surprise, ridicule, sarcasm, disdain. Jiang Tian was amused. These people thought that they could dominate everything with money, but they didn't know that with his ability he would be invincible in the future. However, after his rebirth, he wanted to reach the top of the universe to restore glory and protect his family and friends. What did these mocking eyes have to do with him? Tsk, Jiang Tian, you used to be a rich young master who drove a BMW. Why are you so pitiful now? You don't even have a car. Ho Tianlai looked up and down at Jiang Tian and mocked, look at you. Even my gardener doesn't know how to wear this. I can only give it to a dog. Boss Ho has a sense of humor. Many students laughed along with Ho Tianlai. Jiang Tian didn't say anything. After thousands of years of cultivation, he had seen too many ugly faces. He had already reached the state of mind. Maybe they had been servile in front of him for too long. Now that he was down and out, they wanted to pay him back 100 times over. That's enough, you guys. Lu Yiting stood up and slammed the table angrily. Ho Tianlai's eyes flashed coldly and said, Lu Ying, how are we going too far? We're just telling the truth. Lu Yiting glared at Ho Tianlai and said coldly, no matter what, Jiang Tian is our classmate. What right do you have to humiliate him like this? Oh, okay, I know you're a sharp-tongued person. I won't argue with you. Ho Tianlai changed the topic and said with a smile, let's start eating and drinking. Waiter, a bottle of Mouton red wine. This bottle of wine alone costs at least 100,000 yuan. A knowledgeable boy commented. Wow, it's so expensive. It's burning money. Director Ho is so forthright. The girls applauded one after another, their faces full of admiration and envy. Order whatever you want to eat or play. Ho Tianlai was full of vigor as he said proudly, let's eat first. After we're done, we'll continue to play upstairs. We're not going home until we're drunk. Pulling Jiang Tian to a corner, Lu Yiting smiled. Don't lower yourself to his level. He's so rich that he doesn't know who he is anymore. I'm fine. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. I'm only here to see this old classmate of yours. Where are you working now? Lu Yiting's pretty face was slightly red. Back then she had also liked Jiang Tian. However, due to a freak combination of factors, the two of them had missed each other. I'm in public relations at Zhao Pharmaceutical Company. What about you? My husband and I opened a beauty salon, but we don't have any core products. We can't make ends meet, and we're having a hard time. Lu Yiting sighed. You're having a hard time running your business? Jiang Tian's heart tightened. When he had borrowed money from her in his previous life, she had not hesitated at all. It seemed that she was already short on funds, and the few million that he had borrowed was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Thinking of this, Jiang Tian's heart was moved. He said firmly, thank you for helping me back then. Now that I'm back, I'll definitely repay you. I'll give you a chance. If Lu Yiting liked it, he could promise her a lifetime of wealth and safety. If she wanted, he could even give her a divine root of wisdom to help her on the path to immortality. Repay you? What are you joking about? Lu Yiting did not know whether to laugh or cry. Just because you cheated, I once pleaded for you in front of the director? It's all in the past. Sigh, how would you know that you helped me in my previous life? Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed softly in his heart. He picked up a piece of paper on the table and wrote down a prescription. He handed it to Lu Yiting and said, this is a prescription called beauty cream. Brew it according to the ratio and use it to moisturize the face of your customers. It has miraculous effects. You're playing tricks on me again. Lu Yiting smiled and rolled her beautiful eyes at Jiang Tian. In university, Jiang Tian considered himself a divine doctor. However, he did not have any medical skills. One of his classmates had a stomachache, and he gave him a prescription. He said that if his eyes were healed, he would not mistake food for food next time. Another time, a classmate had appendicitis, and he gave him a laxative, which caused his classmate to almost become dehydrated. When his classmate came to him, he said that he would be fine as long as he excreted the dirty things in his stomach. However, seeing the sincerity in Jiang Tian's eyes, Lu Yiting still took the prescription and put it in her pocket. At this time, the dishes were already being served. The students chatted as they ate. After graduating for a few years, the students had different life paths. However, in general, they were all ordinary and ordinary. Zhao Dan worshipped money the most in university. She would not marry anyone who was not from a rich family. She was married now, but her husband was not from a rich family. He was just an ordinary civil servant. In Zhao Dan's words, she was blind to marry him. However, her face was full of smiles. How could she not be happy? Zheng Li was in love with the talented and good-looking senior in university who was the president of the student council. However, they had broken up and Lin Zhou was working alone. At the mention of that senior, Zheng Li was furious. Who would have thought that the senior who had countless suitors in school was actually a scumbag? He ate, drank, and gambled. However, Zheng Li turned her grief into strength. Her career was quite successful. She was the head of the HR department in Guangxia Group and had reached the middle level. Her income was not bad. However, among the students, Hou Tianlai was doing the best. He was backed by Zhou Zhenghao, the #1 big brother in the West District. He monopolized the earthwork, sand, and cement business in the entire West District. He had dozens of brothers in the company, and his assets reached tens of millions. He bought a garden house and drove an Audi TT. Brother Hao, how awesome is that? Behind him is Lord Dragon V, the underground emperor of Linzhou. He can even talk to the mayor. Hou Tianlai's face was full of glory when Zhou Zhenghao was mentioned. Is that true? Brother Hao, you know him too? Everyone present exclaimed in disbelief. Of course it's true. I've drunk with Brother Hao several times. Hou Tianlai put an exquisite gift box on the table and said excitedly, "This is 100-year-old ginseng. Brother Hao said that he's going to meet a big shot soon. He also asked me to help him search for some exotic herbs. Brother Hao will come to get the herbs later. I'll introduce him to you." Damn, to be able to drink and chat with Brother Hao, President Hou, your current level is extraordinary. Everyone was envious. Even Lu Yiting was slightly moved. She said, "Doesn't Brother Hao have a finance company? Can I borrow some money? He's engaged in private lending. I'll help you talk to him later. There's a discount on the interest rate," Hou Tianlai said. Suddenly, he looked at Jiang Tian, who had been eating silently, and said, "Jiang Tian, you don't have a chance to meet such a big shot like Brother Hao, do you? Who does he think he is? Does he deserve to be my acquaintance?" Jiang Tian picked up a mouthful of stir-fried lotus root, chewed slowly, and said indifferently, "Damn it, Jiang Tian, don't pretend to be noble." Hou Tianlai suddenly became furious. He stood up and pointed at Jiang Tian and sneered, "You're not the young master of the Jiang family a few years ago. You think we don't know your background? You were broken off the engagement and expelled from the family. Let me tell you, you're even worse than a beggar now. How dare you disrespect Brother Hao? Believe it or not, I'll kill you." "Forget it, President Hou. After all, we're classmates. Don't lower yourself to his level. That's right. If you take him seriously, you'll only lower your taste." Zhao Dan and several girls pretended to persuade him, but their words implied that they didn't take Jiang Tian seriously at all. "Ha, Jiang Tian, you're too arrogant. You don't even take Brother Hao seriously. Do you know what he does and how much money he has? Really, you're still so naive after graduating for a few years. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Yuan, Zheng Li, and several classmates all sneered and ridiculed him. Alas, Jiang Tian's character is too strong. He doesn't know the importance of connections. Even Lu Yiting sighed in her heart and shook her head secretly. "If it weren't for the sake of being classmates, I would have killed you long ago," Hou Tianlai scolded resentfully. Just then, the door was pushed open. Surrounded by several burly men, a middle-aged man with an extraordinary temperament came in and said with a smile, "Monkey, you've worked hard. Come on, let me toast you and your classmates." "Director Zhou, why are you here?" Hou Tianlai was surprised and happy. He was so excited that his face turned red. He nodded and bowed like a loyal dog meeting its master. Don't call me Director Zhou. Call me Brother Hao. Zhou Jinghao smiled and said, I heard that you've collected 100-year-old ginseng. Of course, I'm here to thank you for your hard work. Director Zhou, Brother Hao, seeing that Zhou Jinghao came to propose a toast, everyone in the room stood up at the same time. They were all very excited. These young people who had just graduated a few years ago didn't know how Zhou Jinghao became rich. They only knew that he was a well-known private entrepreneur in Linzhou with billions of assets. He was someone who was on the same level as the district secretary. Only Jiang Tian was as calm as a mountain. He didn't even move. Brother Hao, Brother Long, who was standing behind Zhou Jinghao, pulled his sleeve and pointed at Jiang Tian's direction with a strange expression. As soon as Zhou Jinghao came in, everyone greeted him. Everyone's attention was on Zhou Jinghao, so no one noticed Jiang Tian. When they saw the smile on Zhou Jinghao's face froze, they realized that something was wrong. They turned around and saw Jiang Tian sitting there as calm as a mountain, which was very eye-catching. Everyone was a bit surprised. Is this kid stupid? How can a public relations guy have such low EQ? Why doesn't he know how to greet Brother Hao? Ouch! Yuan glanced at Jiang Tian and sneered, Jiang Tian, is there glue on your ass? Brother Hao is here to propose a toast, and you don't even know how to stand up? Seeing that Zhou Jinghao's smile froze, Yuan thought that Jiang Tian didn't stand up and made him unhappy. She thought that Zhou Jinghao was going to make fun of him. Jiang. The moment Zhou Jinghao saw Jiang Tian, it was as if he was struck by lightning. He was dumbfounded and his face was as pale as paper. He couldn't say the word master anymore. Chapter 25. Following Dong Dong's advice, he had been trying his best to curry favor with Jiang Tian. He had learned from Xiao Wei that Jiang Tian had cured old weirdo Tang's illness. He should be an expert in medicine and martial arts, so he should be a cultivator. He knew that an expert like Jiang Tian did not care about worldly wealth. What he liked most was spirit herbs and old herbs. So, he had asked his men to gather all kinds of magical herbs. He was almost done with the preparations and was about to visit Jiang Tian. He did not expect to run into him here. Brother Hao, don't be angry. This guy was disrespectful to you. I was just about to teach him a lesson. I will call someone now. Seeing Zhou Jinghao's strange expression, Ho Tianlai took out his phone and was about to call someone to teach Jiang Tian a lesson. He had always disliked Jiang Tian, and now he had found a reason to do so. Slap. Suddenly, Zhou Jinghao turned around and slapped Ho Tianlai's face. Brother Hao. Ho Tianlai covered his face in shock and did not know what to do. Slap. Zhou Jinghao slapped Yuan's face again and said with a gloomy face, How dare you disrespect Grandmaster Jiang? If you don't want to die, kneel down before Grandmaster Jiang. Master Kong? Who is that? Don't tell me it's Jiang Tian. Everyone was dumbfounded. They did not understand why Zhou Jinghao suddenly lost his temper. Zhou Jinghao quickly walked up to Jiang Tian, his waist almost touching the ground, and said in the most respectful tone he had ever used in his life, Little Zhou greets Grandmaster Jiang. I didn't know you were here, so I came late to welcome you, please forgive me. Jiang Tian picked up a grape from the plate and peeled it leisurely. After peeling the skin, he looked up and said, His name is Jiang Tian, Master Kong, and he calls himself Xiao Zhou. Everyone present was shocked to see Zhou Jinghao, who was extremely powerful in Linzhou, kneeling in front of Jiang Tian. It was like a primary school student meeting his teacher. Lu Yiting was confused. Wasn't he just a PR manager for Zhao's pharmaceutical company? How did he become Master Kong? Moreover, Zhou Jinghao was too respectful to him. He wouldn't even be so respectful to his own father. Ho Tianlai was confused. He frowned and said in a low voice, Brother Hao, you've got the wrong person. He's my classmate. He's a good-for-nothing. Now he's a public relations officer. Only then did Zhou Jinghao notice that Ho Tianlai and Lu Yiting hadn't knelt down yet. He turned around abruptly and slapped them twice. Did I recognize the wrong person, or are you all blind? This is Master Kong. Those medicinal herbs are for him. What? He is Master. When Ho Tianlai heard this, his face turned pale with fright, and he knelt down with a plop. Rumor had it that Master Kong could control ghosts. He was so powerful that even the Tang family had a good relationship with him. However, he never would have thought that the famous Grandmaster Jiang was the classmate from a poor family who didn't even have a mobile phone or a car to get around. Brother Hao, we really didn't know. Yuan also knelt down in fear. Tears streamed down her cheeks and her body trembled. Others might not know, but she knew that Zhou Zhenghao was a big shot who had connections with both the government and the underworld. He had taken lives before. Ask them to leave. I don't want to see them in Linzhou anymore. Jiang Tian continued to eat grapes and said lightly, "Get up." Brother Long and a few bodyguards carried the two of them out of the room. Ho Tianlai didn't give up. He struggled and begged, "Jiangtun, please give me a chance. Please forgive me." "Shut up. Do you think you can call Master Kong by his name?" The clear-eyed Ah Long punched him in the stomach, forcing him to swallow the rest of his words back into his stomach. He coldly shouted, "If you want to die, don't involve the boss. Grandmaster Jiang not giving the order to kill you is already being lenient." After the two of them were carried out, the room was silent again. Jiang Tian was too lazy to speak. Zhou Zhenghao didn't know how to break the deadlock. Lu Yiting, Zhao Dan, Jing Li, and the other classmates didn't dare to speak at all. Zhou Zhenghao's bodyguards, on the other hand, were trembling in fear as if they had seen a god. In the end, Zhou Zhenghao broke the silence. He bowed and said with a flattering smile, "Master Kong, I've collected some herbs recently. I don't know if they're good enough for you." In fact, Jiang Tian didn't want to pay attention to people like Zhou Zhenghao. He already wanted to leave. However, when he heard this, his heart was moved. He was penniless now, and the herbs that he cultivated were all expensive. He couldn't get them at all. "Let me see." Jiang Tian nodded slightly. Good. I'll have someone send it over." Zhou Zhenghao was overjoyed and quickly ordered his men. "Master Kong, you're here. I didn't know in advance. Please forgive me for not being a good host." A moment later, elder sister Dong Dong leisurely walked in with a few young girls each holding a brocade box. She had been in the scene for a long time. She had even entertained the mayor and the district head. When she saw Jiang Tian, she could maintain her composure. However, her slightly trembling hands ruthlessly exposed her nervousness and fear at this time. "Is this an old ginseng? I'm afraid it's 100 years old. 9 tunes sealwort? It's already in the shape of a dragon. It's like a dragon flying in the sky. A human-shaped Polygonum multiflorum. It's so big. I'm afraid it's worth at least a few million yuan." The brocade boxes were opened one by one. There were too many things for the eyes to take in. They exclaimed and stared in disbelief. These medicinal herbs were extremely valuable. Not only were they expensive, but they were also extremely rare. If anyone could get their hands on one, they would definitely treat it as a family heirloom and hide it. Who knew that Zhou Zhenghao would give it to Jiang Tian? Although Jiang Tian's expression was calm, he was actually quite excited. These herbs were quite old. They were enough for Jiang Tian to make a foundation-strengthening pill and become his resources to step into the qi refining stage. Not bad. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "Since it's suitable for me, I'll take it all. I owe you a favor and I'll definitely repay it." Zhou Zhenghao wiped the sweat off his forehead. He didn't waste his time these past few days. He had turned Linzhou upside down. But when he heard Jiang Tian's last sentence, Zhou Zhenghao was so scared that his whole body trembled. He had been in the Jianghu for so long. How could he not know this principle? Zhou Zhenghao immediately smiled and said, "Grandmaster Jiang, what are you talking about? You have to understand that this is my filial piety. To be able to work for Mr. Jiang is a blessing that I have accumulated over several lifetimes. Why would I want anything in return? Master Kong, why don't we go upstairs and have another meal and talk? This kid is really light. No wonder he can build up such a big family business despite being born in the wilderness." Jiang Tian chuckled in his heart. He put all the herbs into a box and held it in his hand. He stood up slowly and said, "Okay, I have to go. If I go home too late, Xueqing will be worried." "Okay, goodbye, Master Kong. You must come visit more often when you're free." Zhou Zhenghao hurriedly followed him like a loyal servant. "You don't have to see me out." Jiang Tian waved his hand and said, "By the way, my classmate Lu Yiting is having some financial difficulties. Lend her some money." "No problem. It will be interest-free." No. You can even give it to her for free." Zhou Zhenghao was so excited that he was a little incoherent. After Jiang Tian left for half a minute, everyone was stunned. They looked at each other and didn't say anything for a long time. One sentence could decide Ho Tianlai's life and death. Zhou Zhenghao worshipped him like a god and gave him those herbs worth at least tens of millions. Who was he exactly? "I heard in school that Jiang Tian seems to be the son of a big family." Zheng Li suddenly said faintly. What kind of person was Zhou Zhenghao? He was on the same level as the district mayor, but he was so respectful to Jiang Tian. Other than the fact that Jiang Tian was from one of those legendary aristocratic families, was there any other explanation? Now that Jiang Tian was only 25 years old, he could make Zhou Zhenghao bow his head. If he was in charge of the family and could use the family's wealth, how terrifying would that be? Perhaps even the mayor and the secretary of the district committee would have to bow their heads in front of him. She regretted that she had missed an opportunity that could have saved her 20 years of hard work. Zheng Li was not the only one who thought of this. All the students present understood this point and were filled with regret and dejection. If they could ride on Jiang Tian's coattails, they would be able to achieve great things in the future. Just a little from him would be enough to fill their stomachs. Unfortunately, except for Lu Ying, everyone else looked down on Jiang Tian. They followed Ho Tianlai to make things difficult for Jiang Tian. "Which one of you is Ms. Lu Yiting? Please come with me to my office." At this moment, Zhou Zhenghao had more or less recovered a bit of the bearing of a superior, and he smiled warmly. When they arrived at Zhou Zhenghao's office, Lu Yiting briefly explained the situation. Zhou Zhenghao immediately wrote a check and said, "Ms. Lu, you can take 10 million yuan of interest-free loan. You can pay it back at any time. It's okay if you can't pay it back." Lu Yiting was overjoyed that her urgent situation was solved so easily. She hurriedly said, "Don't worry, Mr. Zhou. Thank you so much. I'll pay you back as soon as possible." "You're welcome, Ms. Lu. Since it's Master Kang's order, I'll do it. 10 million yuan is nothing." Zhou Zhenghao smiled. After Dong Dong served tea, Lu Yiting took a few sips to calm down her excitement. She couldn't hold back her curiosity and asked with a smile, "Mr. Zhou, you're Jiang Tian's friend, right? How did you two meet?" "Sigh, Ms. Lu, you've overestimated me. Master Kong is like a dragon in the sky. He's like an immortal. I don't deserve to be Master Kang's friend. I'll be satisfied if I can be his lackey." Zhou Zhenghao sounded like he was joking, but his serious face didn't look like he was joking at all. Lu Yiting was shocked. What exactly did Jiang Tian do to make Zhou Zhenghao, this kind of hero, willing to be his lackey? "Ms. Lu, you should have a good impression of Mr. Jiang. If you have time, please put in a good word for me." Zhou Zhenghao's face was full of joy. He even tried to curry favor with her. "Of course." Lu Yiting nodded. She couldn't help but think of Jiang Tian's words, "I'll give you an opportunity." She couldn't wait any longer. This prescription must be very magical. I have to go back and try it. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.